The following is an exclusive presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.
The British Open, golf's oldest championship, always contested on the famous seaside links of the United Kingdom. Carnoustie on the east coast of Scotland has been called by many the toughest finishing holes in major competition. Well, the great ones have overcome adversity. Ben Hogan in 1953. Gary Player in 1968. And young Tom Watson 24 years ago, the last time the championship was held here. Well, today, players of yesteryear and even a 16-year-old named Scotland battle for the claret jug. Leading the U.S. effort is the U.S. national champion, Payne Stewart. And a Tiger on the prowl for another major title. Will Scotland's native son rise to his first major championship? Or perhaps the young Spanish sensation, Sergio Garcia, will break out in a major way? Or will the links at Carnoustie conquer all with its narrow fairways, its lofty rough, and the seaside winds? The birthplace of golf offers this, the 128th edition of the British Open Championship. County. Tom Watson then. Or now, somewhat of a surprise leader, Patrick Scholand of Sweden, 3 under par. Only 2 men more than holding their own with this ancient link. Justin Leonard, the former champion from Texas. Rodney Pampling, a bit of a surprise. He's second on the money list in Australia. Colin Montgomery, the Scot, they're counting on him here this week. Scott Verplank, Davis Love, Jim Furyk there of the unusual swing. Nick Faldo, twice former champion. Lee Janzen, twice U.S. champion. Lee West with the young English star. There's Roca, who almost won this win at St. Andrews. Scott Dunlop of the U.S. Bernhard Langer was under par, but now he's 1 over. Pierre Fulke of Sweden. Brian Watts of the United States, back again, 1 over par. Hal Sutton, 1 over. Craig Spence of Australia. There's Dudley Hart of the U.S., 2 over. Steve Pate at the same score. Among the first 3 pages that we have here, there are 9 countries represented. And represented in our team, I'm proud to say I'm working again this year with your regular host on golf, Mike Tirico. Curtis Strange, of course, twice in a row, the U.S. Open champion. Ian Baker Finch, former British Open champion, and Steve Melnick, who won the British Amateur on this very golf course. Also with us today, of course, Judy Rankin out on the fairways, and so will Mark McCumber be there, along with Gary Smith, Frank Hannigan with his always interesting rulings, and Jimmy Roberts conducting our interviews. Should be a very good team. And now let's go over to the aforementioned Mike Tirico.
Okay, Jim, what a day. What a difficult day. Some of the players are staying down at the Old Course Hotel at St. Andrews, and Tiger Woods and company have been using helicopters, their mode of transportation up the east coast of Scotland, to arrive at a field just a few minutes away from the Carnoustie golf links. Tiger arriving a short time ago. Lee Janzen, another one of the players staying over there. Tiger just about set to tee off his 99 Open Championship. We go to the first tee. Ian Woosnam will play first. He's in this group along with Craig Parry and Tiger. Yeah. 40th game to go off the first tee, 52 games in all, 156 players.
On the tee, Craig Parry.
They're playing in winds of gust 20 miles an hour and above, and they know that the task ahead is nearly impossible. The average score right now is 7 over par. Average score.
Tiger Woods.
In addition to being the betting favorite, he is the crowd favorite here this week as well. irons off the tee of this 407-yard par 4. Good start. Good luck. 36 players have finished. 8 of them have rounds in the 80s, and we're talking the best players in the world. You saw that Patrick Scholand was our leader by 2 a moment ago. He just made a double bogey at the par 4 fifth. So Scholand and Leonard are 1 under. Rodney Pampling at even par. May not see anyone do better than that when these 18 holes are done. Welcome back to Carnoustie at the very difficult 6th, par 5. Colin Montgomery has this for par.
This hole not only 578 yards long, bunkers everywhere, but playing dead into the wind all week long. Might be the toughest hole on the golf course.
Monty is 1 over. We go back to the 1st and the 2nd for Craig Parry.
Craig has 202 yards to the hole, right into the wind.
Gary Smith with this group. And Parry's ball misses, and when you miss, the penalty is quite severe.
Well, Tiger Woods, after an iron off the tee, has 165 yards to the front, 179 yards to the hole. And when he was warming up, he was hitting a lot of knockdown shots to prepare for this type of shot.
We saw him hit a lot of knockdown shots at the Western Open, where he won quite easily. You're going to hear a lot about the fairways this week, but you'll see a lot of irons off the tee because they're so very tight. Some of the most narrow fairways the players have ever played.
You see here where Tiger ended up perfect line but long. The winds are forecast to blow at this pace all week. Well, there you see Tiger's numbers last year at Birkdale. The rousing finish on the way in. The birdie at 17 from off the green, the birdie at 18 to finish 1 stroke shy of the playoff. The amateur finishes in 96 and 95. Well, what has happened? As you know, we've been 7 hours now into play. It started at 2:15 New York time, 7:15 British summer time. Some of the things that have happened already. David Duval, who's out on the golf course, missed that first fairway to the right.
And a strong early favorite. David certainly has the length to play this golf course and the strength to get out of the rough. After a good third to about 6 feet, the winner will have to do a lot of that this week. Salvage par from unbelievable places.
David made his par off to the 2nd, 462-yard par 4. David was off the green, but had this for birdie.
You'll see a lot of that this week also. Putting and chipping, little bump and runs. The winner will also have to do some of that as well.
Duval to 1 under. Remember, this is his first start since the U.S. Open. Another missed fairway at 3, and watch this. Still recovered from there and had an opportunity for a long putt to save par. And 3 is a short hole, a par 4, 342 yards.
Have to be patient. Every player out here, if you lose your patience, you'll lose a golf tournament immediately.
So a bogey on 3 and back to even par off to the 4th hole, which is 412 yards, and another narrow fairway miss.
And another tee shot to the right.
And just chipping out back into play is not easy. You're going to see a lot of players trying to get it back in the fairway and running it right through. This was for par. Back-to-back bogeys. He bogeyed the 6th as well. David Duval is playing the 8th and 2 over par right now. 1 over after 4 and the other bogey at 6. Some other players, Colin Montgomery, the Scot. You saw him at 6 a little while ago. This was earlier.
And that's not a walk of a confident stroke tonight, but he's playing some of the best golf of his life. Maybe has the best opportunity he's ever had this year.
He won last week at Loch Lomond on the western coast of Scotland, his native land. This a long snake at 4 for birdie.
He's not only one of the best drivers in the world, but he can certainly do that.
Well, you've seen the name on the leaderboard. Rodney Pampling, age 30, from Australia, playing his first Open Championship. Made 11 pars to start with. How about an eagle on 14?
A long driver of the golf ball, and something else he does very well. He hits the ball low all the time.
Well, the big hitters have a big advantage this week. Ernie Els at the first for birdie. Great start to the Open Championship for Els. He moved on to the second. Had another opportunity for birdie.
Wind is blowing just hard enough to keep you off balance. When you're off balance, you miss putts.
He's had some good ball striking, but got into trouble at 3, and this was for bogey. 2 drop shots, a double. Ernie at 1 over at that point. He is now 3 over as he plays the 16th. Sergio Garcia, so much expected. This is the very first hole, and that was his 3rd shot. He got in trouble right off the tee.
You can hit it in spots this week. You're lucky to even find your ball.
That was his 5th shot out of the bunker. He had this for double bogey on the 1st. Welcome to your first major as a pro. A triple bogey to open with. He's had 3 more double bogeys in the interim. An impossible day for Sergio. Joe Ozaki had a good day going, but look at that at 14. Some of the things that can happen. Couldn't get it out of the bunker. He made a double. Jim McKay told you about Tom Watson, who made 8 pars on the day. That's the good news. This is at 9. Sometimes you can get a good lie in there at Open Championships, but not this year. Jeff Sluman, 17, the par 4. Watch what happens. Okay, not bad. Slow down because the Barry burn awaits. You could stand there 100 times and try to land it on that small burn wall ridge, and it ended up there. Patty Harrington had a great day going until he found the gorse on his hands and knees.
At times you can be embarrassed out here. Have to hit shots you've never hit before in your life.
They say they are not here to embarrass the players, just get the toughest links in the world back to the difficult status that it held for major championships 24 years ago. It certainly is difficult. A moment ago, here's what Woods did at the opening hole with his 3rd shot.
This is a difficult shot because once it hits the green, it'll be a little bit quick downhill. Trying to shoot it straight up in the air. Came up a little bit short, a little bit under the ball. And this, the first hole, one of the easier holes on the golf course, even though it plays into the wind.
And you see the fans who are gathered around the first green as we get a live look at Woods with this putt for par.
Players talking all week long that this is, without a doubt, the toughest British Open they have ever seen. Bar none. Narrowness of the fairways, the length of the golf course, the wind. It's nothing better than making putt on the first hole. Get some confidence going because you're going to have to putt well this week.
Well, save for Tiger at the opening hole. We move you forward to 7, and Ian Baker Finch is the call there.
Colin Montgomery coming from the right rough. This is his 2nd shot.
This is a 4-iron from 185 yards right into the teeth of this wind.
Out of bounds all the way down the left side of this hole. Very narrow fairway, narrow approach to the green. And that's a pretty good effort from where he was. And the US Open champion, Payne Stewart, putting here at the 16th green. This hole today averaging 3.5, 256-yard par 3. And that'll be a 4 for Payne. It's really a par 4 for most of the players anyway. Even though it's playing downwind, it's a tough one. 7 over par for Payne.
It's hard to believe it's 7 over par, Ian, and still in the golf tournament.
For sure. Familiar figure there, the broad-shouldered Greg Norman, playing his 2nd at the 4th. Greg playing alongside Lee Westwood, very good English player. And Lee Jansen, dual US Open champion. You see the flag there really blowing in the wind. The 4th being a double green with the 14th. And there's the flags, a few of the flags representing the players' countries here at the Open Championship. We'll be back in just a moment.
Well, good morning, America, on a good but windy afternoon here in Carnoustie, Scotland, where it's about 2:15. Welcome to the 128th playing of the world's oldest and many believe the unofficial World Championship of Golf, the British Open. I'm Jim McKay, returning to an event that ESPN's older brother, ABC Sports, first covered 37 years ago when Arnold Palmer won his first of 2 straight British Open championships. Well, Arnold isn't here this year, and neither's Jack Nicklaus. He's at home tending to his recovering hip. But Gary Player, who won on this course in 1968, is still walking the fairways of the world, appearing in his 44th British Open. The new big names are on hand, of course. We've seen some of them already. Tiger and David Duval, the U.S. Open champion, Payne Stewart, Masters champion Jose Maria Olazabal, the defender Mark O'Meara. But the past is always with us, too. On the seaside links land of Scotland, Alan Robertson, the first famous professional over here, designed the first 10 holes of Carnoustie, more than a century ago, and the final 8 were the work of the immortal old Tom Morris. But the sky is still Scottish blue, and the wind still blows in off the North Sea. We have quite a weekend ahead of us. Mike Tirico.
Jim, we look forward to the weekend and see who will survive, because that is what is shaping up to be a survival test on this very difficult golf course. You see Bob Tway birdied the first to join Leonard and Sholand at 1 under par, but there's plenty of tough stuff ahead. The stretch of 9 through 12 is brutal. 17 and 18 is next to impossible. And the other holes are really tough.
Really tough. It's you know, the players are talking all week long. There's some players that are actually actually frightened, really. That's a strong word, but some of the qualifiers, they just don't know what they're going to shoot. The reason being, let me give you an example. The U.S. Open that were very, very tight fairways, they average somewhere between 27 and 30 yards wide. This week, we have about 23-yard wide fairways. That is extremely tight. And with that, you have bunkers all in the fairway, so you have to tiptoe around these bunkers. Then you have the length of the course. It's 7,300 plus. It's so tight off the tee, players are having to hit long irons. They've virtually taken the driver out of the bag because you can't afford to hit it in this knee-high deep rough. They've had such a wet spring, it's extremely difficult. If you hit it in the rough, bogeys, double bogeys are everywhere.
These +3s, +4s, +5s, they're good days, aren't they?
Well, you know, you don't think so. This week, you're going to have to throw out par. I can't remember. Wingfoot in 74 was like that. Low score wins, obviously, and that's it's kind of stupid to say, but you have to forget about par. We're so regimented with par. Forget about it. Low score wins. It could be 8, 10. Who knows what it could be if the wind blows.
And the locals remind you that when Hogan won here in 53, they weren't talking about scores in relation to par. It was just your total, and it may be a good mindset for players to adapt for this week. Rocco Mediate shooting 79. Neil Price, I should say, who was a last-minute sub for Sam Torrance, who had to withdraw before play started. Let's take you to the 7th, and Ian.
Back at the very narrow hole, you can see there in the middle of camera, it's about 16 yards wide, this fairway. Colin Montgomery chipped up. Saw his second shot run down about pin high left, and this is what he has left for par. Montgomery bogeyed 5 and 6 after a birdie at the 4th.
Ian, I think he's ready. Sorry, I think he's ready.
I think so too. A great win last week.
He's had just an unbelievably poor British Open showings over the years. Just, you think he'd do well, get fired up. It's done just the opposite. It's almost knocked him down.
Lee Jansen coming from the bunker at the 4th. Lee Jansen parred the first 3 holes. Now back live.
Lee was struggling yesterday with his game. I walked a couple of holes with him, not very confident, and you do not want to take a lack of confidence to this golf course.
You know, Curtis, sometimes too, this buffeting wind all the time, day in, day out, you got that nice, smooth, easy rhythm like Lee Jansen. It really affects that. Back to 2.
Ian Woosnam's second shot here at the 462-yard par 4.
That was right into the teeth of the wind. 189 yards to the hole.
And that looks to have gone a left here at the second.
Let's take a look at the second hole. It's 462 yards, playing into the teeth of the wind all week long. When the pin goes all the way in the back, it can play 492 or 3. It's only 220 over the first bunker, not in play. 260 to the bunkers on the right and left. You can drive it in those. And look how tight the fairway is, only about 10 yards wide there. Guarded by 5 bunkers. If you drive it in the rough, the bunkers well short do come into play in a long, skinny, narrow green.
Curtis,
difficult hole, Steve.
This green is 55 paces from front to back as we look at Tiger Woods set to play his second.
Well, Steve, he has a horrible lie. There's quite a bit of grass behind the ball. The thing he's got going for him is at least the grass is growing towards the hole. He's got 158 yards to the front. If he can chase anything up around the front, he will have hit a wonderful shot.
Rarely is his strength going to be better served this week if he leaves the fairway. Well, you get used to seeing a lot of that. Garcia got off to a horrid start with shots such as that at the first hole. It will challenge the game's best. Easily the most difficult of the Open Championships Road. Carnousie's in a class by itself.
Welcome back on this nearly impossible scoring day at the British Open. Rodney Pampling's even par round of 71 is the best in the clubhouse. You see many early starters on that first page of the leaderboard. The tough stuff really lies ahead. Sergio Garcia has finished. He shot 89, 18 over par. We go to the fourth.
Lee Westwood putting for his 4th consecutive par. Just one more wheat big needed. Still a smile on the face. One of the more difficult things out here in the wind is the putting. The greens are all very exposed. We'll go back to 2.
Well, a moment ago, here's a shot that will test your mettle. This looks like an 8 or 9 iron he's trying to blast with. He's a long way away.
60 yards to the hole.
Come on, guys. Watch your cameras. Come on. Jesus Christ.
When you're the crowd favorite, you're also the press favorite. Not always a blessing. Well, what usually happens is there's a premature clicking of lenses, and that seemed to be the case here. Let's watch Tiger. This, as I said, looks to be an 8 or 9 iron. What a terribly difficult shot to begin with. And just as he makes impact, he turns, hears them. As if the game wasn't hard enough, Curtis.
Yeah, you know, Steve, we have etiquette, and we try to obey the etiquette. They certainly have the same thing, and they have to, you know, play by the rules as well. And I don't care how big or how famous Tiger Woods is or anybody. You know, in the game of golf, there's rules, and the photographers have them as well. And it's a shame that, you know, they could cost a guy a golf tournament. That's what I don't like.
It's a little different over here. And now here at 8, Brian Watts. And this 8th hole playing 174. A huge left to right crosswind that has given players fits today. This is a 6 iron, and that right-hand bunker has found many a ball today. The 8th out at the corner of the golf course. And back at 2. Craig Perry taps in for par, so solid start for Craig. Craig and Woosie kind of short, lower center of gravity. Woosie's played well here at the Scottish Open, won here in '96. Actually, his winning score was 289, and that was 1 over par. That was back when the 12th, which was a par 5 then and a par 4 now. So if that's any measure of what these players can expect, that would be a score of 5 over here.
Steve, even though he was upset at the cameraman there, it's still a pretty good shot.
It was indeed. Gary, you were there. You could see it better than anyone.
Well, it was a remarkably good shot, especially considering how steep the lip was in front of him. But as Curtis mentioned, it was way out of order. The cameras clicked extremely early there. He's now faced with a very slow putt up the hill.
You know, I think Tiger came here thinking and knowing that he could and should win here. He's played well. His last 4 events, he's been first, third, and first. The one saving grace here, the greens are not particularly fast. How about that? The save at 1, the remarkable save here at 2, and what a boost this must be. This is not about making birdies this week, folks. This is about saving pars any and every way you can. What a start. Up ahead at 6.
Oh, here is that very difficult par 5, 578 yards. Justin Leonard, third shot, currently tied for the lead. Leonard misses to the right. 4 pars and a birdie on number 3.
Let's take a look at the 6th hole. Normally par 5s aren't that difficult, but this could be the toughest hole in the golf course, especially being a par 5. As you see, the 3 bunkers in the middle of the fairway, you go to the right or to the left. To the left is known as Hogan's Alley. And this is where it gets tight, right in that area. It's 14 yards wide, 10 yards wide right there, and that's where you're laying it up. If it does get downwind, you can get it on this green in 2, but I don't think so this week unless the wind changes completely. This hole today planned to 5.56 for a par 5. That is really, really high, Mike.
36 bogeys and 10 doubles have been made here today, and we're about 2/3 of the way through the field coming through number 6.
And not only a long hole, but there you see the green. You can see some of the humps and bumps. It's a really kind of a funky green. A lot of movement, a lot of different hole locations and make it very difficult.
Ahead to 8.
An impossible situation for Monty. That's out of bounds, just left where the fence is. He was that close to going out, but he's on the downslope. Can't get at it. Ooh. When you play links golf like this, sadly you come to expect situations like that. And there's not one thing you can do.
And this is where Monty, Steve, really has to work hard. And we know he can run a little hot, be a little short with himself. He has to be patient. Patience, you're going to get tired of us talking about it, but it does wear on your patience this week.
Well, it came off the great wind last week at Loch Lomond, closed in 64, was the crowd favorite, if perhaps not the betting favorite, Tiger being the betting favorite, and now this is 3rd. And so that left for bogey. 1 under par through 4 holes, and bogeys at 5 and 6, and now has that longish putt here. Mark Montgomery, you've been with him. What's it been like?
Well, I'll tell you, he seemed to be up in spirits with his birdie on 4, and he bogeyed 5 and 6 and saved par on the last hole, but his shoulders are slumping. I'll tell you, Steve, he came within a breath of hitting that tee shot out of bounds. He's really going to have to work hard. This is a very difficult day to play out here. And
now Brian Watts.
pretty good lie in the bunker on the upslope. Not a lot of green to work with, but it's back into the wind. That'll help him.
It's about where you miss it for you to get it up and down. Montgomery and an untenable lie over there to the left.
Well, Justin Leonard has to get up and down at number 6 to stay under par. It is Justin and Bob Tway. And that's it. No other players under par. Day 1 of the 128th British Open, presented by MasterCard. Our coverage until 2 Eastern on ESPN continues.
Beside the 5 prior Open championships played at Carnoustie, this venerable links has been a common venue for British Amateur Championship. What we care about was that of 1971, when the champion was our man, Steve Melnick. Then the consensus choice as the leading amateur in the world, and to coin a phrase, the next Nicklaus. Steve beat another American, Jim Simon, in the 36-hole final.
Welcome back. Tiger waits on the tee of number 3, 342-yard par 4 at the high point of the golf course, the shortest par 4 out here. While we have a moment, a chance to remind you the Sports Century Project, the 50 greatest North American athletes of the century. Number 27 is the incomparable Jerry Rice, the wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. See it tomorrow night, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific on ESPN. So good and still going strong. So many great records he holds. To the 8th and Steve Melnick.
Montgomery for bogey. And what a derailment this could be should he miss. So like that, bogey, bogey, par, double bogey, and he falls to 3 over. To 3.
We're back at the 3rd as Woods waits, talking with Steve Williams, his caddy. The favorite, as I mentioned, in the betting parlors over here. Is he your favorite as well, Curtis?
Absolutely, and there's a couple of reasons. His strength, there's no substitution ever for strength. He can hit a lot of irons. He hit one driver yesterday off the tee, so he can hit irons to try to put it in the fairway, the strength out of the rough. And then he's been the most positive all week long of all the players in the press about the golf course. He has sounded very, very mature all week long.
In good shape there on this slight dog leg right. Well, we talked earlier how high the scoring is going. The current scoring average is in the neighborhood of 78.65. And now down to 78.52. There you see what the record is. This would be the highest first-round scoring average in the 90s of a British Open. You go back to last year, and last year the players were so frustrated with the wins. How do you think they feel now? 4.5 shots tougher.
But they knew it was coming here.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew this was coming all week long. I think even the officials are a little bit, I don't know, what's the word? Concerned. Very much so.
They've said they don't want to embarrass the players. They don't know what's going to happen. To the 10th.
Santiago Luna. This is on tape, recorded a few moments ago. The 10th hole. Well, look at that. Well, Santiago Luna out in 44 makes an eagle 2 at the 10th. The 10th hole playing very easy today, straight downwind. Well, after 44 at the front, just what he needed. Lots of fans. This is live. We've gone back to the tented village up near the practice range, up behind the hotel and clubhouse. Lots of people in there buying lots of prints, as you can see there, the current Open Championship print. 5 winners, past champions here. There is the huge tent, the tented village, where there's so many corporate hospitality tents. And the new hotel that was built to get this course back on the rotation. 88 rooms there, marvelous hotel and facility. And of course the 18th green, but we'll go back out to the 5th.
This is Greg Norman for par at this par 4, measuring 411 yards. The flagstick on the upper tier of this large 2-tiered green. The narrowness of the fairways has just about taken the driver out of the hands of the longest players. And this may sound strange because Carnoustie at 7,361 yards is the longest Open Championship course ever. And yet they don't drive it very often. Lee Westwood paired with Greg. Started with 3 pars, then bogeyed the 4th, and has this for birdie. And he's been sort of a quiet favorite. He's had a wonderful campaign again in Europe, ranked in the top 10 in the world. But yet attention has been on Woods and Sergio and perhaps Duval, and not a lot of attention cast to Lee Westwood. seems that short for his par here. A lot of the problems today the players will face will have to be judge the velocity of the wind, particularly on the greens. To 6.
Justin Leonard, remember, he missed to the right with his third shot. Pitch to there. That his par attempt. So Leonard will fall back to even par with a bogey at number 6. Well, Bob Tway has just dropped a shot at 3 as well, so we have an 11-way tie for the lead at even par. Pampling, who's in, Scholand, Leonard, Davis Love off to a good start. We mentioned Tway just dropping a shot. Costantino Roca, Tiger in the third fairway, Miguel Angel Martin, Scott Watson, who was in the field with the withdrawal of Bill Glasson because of an elbow injury. Get a look at David Duval. He's at 10.
Second shot.
Well, it may not sound correct, but I assure you it is 157 yards straight downwind and a sand wedge. Many balls have run through this green earlier in the day.
David Duval shooting 39 the front 9. Made a couple of good putts early in the round, but just couldn't quite keep it going through that very difficult end to the first 9 holes. He seems to be in pretty good spirits and handling himself well, though, Judy.
You know, I think at least at this moment, that is a real plus for David Duval. He has a very good attitude. He's smiling about the difficulty of this. And he said, you know, the only thing you can do is try as hard as you can. And he said, I will continue to do that.
Judy, the only thing I question is that he hasn't played since the U.S. Open. And is he competitively sharp? Hasn't played in a month. To come over here and play in these conditions is mighty tough.
I think he's pretty keyed up for this one, Curtis. As we all know, the U.S. Open was a bigger disappointment for him than some people might have realized. And I think he's prepared pretty well for this.
Back to 9.
Number 9, par 4, 474 yards. You see the fairway? Good. Monty can't see the right side of it either.
Monty's hitting a 2-iron there, Michael, into a crosswind hard from his left to right.
They're all tough. This one's been the toughest. It's a par 4. The scoring average is 4.8 right now. With 15 double bogeys, a couple of triples.
And there you see a good shot of, this is a true links course, but a little bit different in appearance because see the tall pine trees to the left of the hole. There's the tall shrubs, the gorse everywhere, but they do have some trees.
Stretch of 9 through 12 is more parkland than links from the appearance. Here's Tiger's second at the third.
With a sand wedge, just 87 to the front, a nasty left to right wind.
Rolls back on this huge green at number 3.
And that will be a difficult 2-putt.
There are larger greens, as Steve told you about the green. It's over 50 paces. This one is just under 40. Well, the players who finished 18 holes, no rounds in the 60s, 35 in the 70s, and 13 in the 80s, including Sergio Garcia, Fred Funk, Sandy Lyle, Miguel Angel Jimenez, Tom Watson, some of the big names with high numbers. Well, there's plenty of golf going on, not just here. The USGA, the Amateur Public Links Championship, is being held in Alton, Illinois at the Spencer T. Olin Community Golf Course. Tournament open to the golfers who, since the beginning of the year, have been bona fide public golf course players. And since 1922, they've been holding this event. Friday and Saturday, the coverage, so tomorrow afternoon. The Pub Links on ESPN. We go to 16.
And the young sensation from last year, Justin Rose. Playing this very long and difficult par 3, and he's missed it to the short right in that bunker. Unbelievably difficult hole at 16th, and what a story he's been. Jimmy Roberts caught up with him earlier.
Direct from the Imagineering department, a fairy tale.
He was a lot of fun to play with, and being in the last group on Saturday with them was quite interesting because every time he came to the tee or the green, he was getting a standing ovation from the gallery, and I thought it was just the neatest thing.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, when he holed that shot on the last hole, by far the loudest roar I've ever heard in golf at any time.
I knew I had a great tournament. I wanted to hit a great shot, wanted to sign off nicely, and little did I know that 10 seconds later,
you see my
that would be happening around me.
No, you're kidding me. Way to go, kid.
The fairy tale couldn't have seemed any more improbable. The 17-year-old Brit with the cherubic grin created 4 days of emotional mayhem in a country where foreigners have most recently had a stranglehold on the old claret jug.
The leading amateur, Justin Rose.
The next day, as he had planned to do all along, Justin Rose became a professional. A story this good couldn't have gotten any better, so it didn't. It got worse. You see, a fairy tale is a non-negotiable security. In his first 17 tournaments on the European PGA Tour, Justin Rose missed the cut 17 times and earned not a single shilling.
Very frustrating. I mean, to be so far off the mark, really, for a fair period of time is frustrating. But I think it all came down to, my swing not functioning as I wanted to and playing under pressure. I think that's a very tough thing to do.
I really can't believe that he hasn't done better than he has. He's a young guy, and I'm sure he'll come out of it, but I think it's just a matter he's probably got that little bit of doubt and has to get past that.
Your confidence goes a little bit, and you're not confident in your technique, and, that's where playing under the spotlight really sort of magnifies your errors.
Hang on! He has been arguably the single worst player on the European Tour over the last 12 months, last in stroke average, and at or near the bottom in every single significant statistical category.
I didn't see it as a big deal turning pro. I really didn't. I thought I can do my learning as a pro. Why? Okay, Tiger did his learning, and Sergio did their learning as an amateur. And that's probably the easier way to learn in hindsight. But, I've jumped in at the deep end, but I think, okay, it's been a rough ride, but I'm going to feel a lot stronger for it in the long run.
With the assistance of his father and David Ledbetter, Rose is working on simplifying his swing. In early June, he finished 4th in a minor league event in Austria. 2 weeks later, he made his very first cut on the European Tour. The progress has been slow, but sure. Might it have come quicker without the spotlight of last year's dramatics?
Maybe sitting here talking to you now, maybe I'll be a little bit better off, but I still wouldn't change anything. I think those 4 days were pretty special, and, to be my first British Open and to do that, I mean, hopefully I'll go on to win the tournament one day, and I think I'll have to win it to have a more special week than I did that particular week.
Justin arrived here this week and said the yellow scoreboards here at the Open Championship brought back the memories of last year. A moment ago at the third, Tiger Woods, a long birdie attempt.
As we said earlier, difficult two-putt, comes over a knob about midway there. But the entire putt up the hill.
Brakes slammed on. Now live, Tiger trying to save par as he did on 1 and 2. We say it often, worth repeating, the wind, a very significant putting factor also.
Well, it keeps you off balance. It gets you moving around just a little bit. You have to keep the weight a little more on your left side. Try to stay very, very still, but it still affects your stroke back and through. Could be frightening if he starts making a lot of putts.
Save, save, save.
But that wears you out as well, putting for pars on every hole.
Lots of saves, but no bargains here this week, that's for sure. All the way up to the finishing hole, Payne Stewart, the U.S. Open champion, with this putt for birdie. Downwind, gently it moved toward the hole.
79, 8 over par. He's certainly not happy with it, but he's still in the golf tournament.
That happiness is happy to finish.
Maybe so. Do you think there'll be any red wine left in the clubhouse at the end of this week?
Not after Friday and Sunday, that's for sure. After the cut and after the event, nobody is under par. 11 players are tied for the lead at even par on day one of the Open Championship.
Take a good look at this Carnoustie bunker on the 6th hole because it won't be here long. It was installed for this Open Championship by the R&A, but with the stipulation that it'll be filled in when the Open is over. The local golfers just don't want it to bedevil them. It starts at about 280 yards off the tee, and to clear it calls for a carry of 300 yards. The R&A doesn't think anyone will carry clear over. We'll see.
Well, it looks beautiful, doesn't it? The North Sea in the distance, Carnoustie golf links in the foreground, the white cumulus clouds, the blue skies. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. Just a little water activity, right?
Where are we? Hawaii?
Oh, yeah,
is that
right. Kapalua, right over there. Yeah. It just feels that way, too, doesn't it? Let's take you to the finishing hole. 487-yard par 4, and the defending champion, Mark O'Mara, his third shot. What a tough day it's been for Mark as well.
You know, it just blows your mind. Here's a guy that's worked and worked and worked. He hits a lot of balls, wanted to play well, defending his championship. And my God, 84. 83, I'm sorry, but what's the difference? It blows your mind that here's one of the best ball strikers there is, and you can't get around the golf course.
How about that on the last for Mark? With 4 double bogeys. 43 on the front, 5 over 40 for the second 9.
Just goes to show you you can make a golf course so tough, you can't hardly play it.
Maybe this is a better idea for this day. This is back in that tented village, which if you haven't been here, it's hard to describe all the fun golf-related activities you can buy. There you go. Unwindated. 7 irons.
Mike, they don't teach the high fade here at Carnoustie.
Keep it low at all times. Well, some of the prominent players, and you see the biggest names in golf and their scores. The early players are one thing. Now, the finished rounds you focus on. Parnevik 3 over, Ernie 3 over, David 3 over through 10. And the question's going to come up when you see these scores and the scoring average, it's going to get close to 79 or 80 for the round. Is it unfair?
I think they've crossed the line a little bit. They knew the wind was going to blow out. You know, it's not galing out here. It's only blowing 18, 20 miles an hour. It's such a good golf course and tough golf course to start with. When you start to bring fairways in to 23, 20 yards wide, now you make the players back off with an iron, and then they have a 1 or 2 or 3 iron into these par 4s. You just can't make but so many pars.
To 7.
Justin Leonard. Just slipping one by, making another bogey. Disappointing day for the 97 champ. It really doesn't look like a links course when you look at it from here. It's green, it's lush. The Barry Burn meanders through. But the golf is tough like links golf, believe me.
Greg Norman at the 6th is to stay at +3. Greg opened with a double on the first hole. Made a bogey on 5, but makes that one stay at +3. Lee Westwood in this group is 1 over. Lee Jansen also in this group 3 over.
He's been kind of quiet lately, hasn't he?
Certainly has.
Hasn't played a lot, and when he's played, hasn't played the way we expect him to play. Now Lee Westwood for par.
Sneaks it in the side. Westwood, whose shoulder injury really affected his performance this spring. But he's picked it up now 13th on the European Tour money list. We expect to see him higher in a healthy year and perhaps by the end of this year. And we mentioned Lee Jansen as well. Lee, who's putting here for bogey, said earlier this week on a scale of 1 to 10, my game right now is a -4. Drops another shot here to fall farther back as you look alphabetically at the scores in the upper left-hand column. Position in the field of 156 players. 4 over through 6, and we drop you back to number 2.
The Masters champion, Olazabal, second at the second. Went in his face from the right. Beautifully played here.
Lovely shot.
He, too, like O'Meara, has moved here very quietly and has not drawn a lot of attention. He certainly has a short game to compete. You question whether he can drive the ball in these fairways. Up ahead at 4.
And one of the guys that Curtis talked about earlier being a low center of gravity player, should be good in the wind, is Craig Parry.
Well, unfortunately, Ian, he's got off to a very bad start, double bogeying the first hole. And this, he's about to hit his third shot after driving the ball left. He's got 168 yards to the hole, right into the wind again.
Really tough hole for Craig today. He likes to play the ball a little higher and left to right from the tee. And the dogleg right with horrendous rough down the right-hand side makes it a very difficult driving hole. And you can see there that they've slashed back a lot of the really, really thick rough and made it into semi. I noticed on Tuesday and Wednesday they were out there with whippersnippers and different apparatus trying to cut back quite a few of the areas that they thought were perhaps a little unfair.
Whippersnippers?
Whippersnippers?
What's that?
You blokes, you're brutal. Ian Woosnam with his second to the 4th.
He hit a little whippersnipper 4-iron in there.
You know what they are, Gary, don't you?
Oh, yes. I've got 3 of them.
Finchy, they obviously don't sell those down south.
Sorry, they're, you know, the little things with the wire on them, and they make a noise and they snip the grass.
Weed eaters.
Weed eaters, there you go.
Weed eaters from Virginia.
Well, when you're in Rome, you do as the Romans.
I think you use the language, we simply abuse it.
But it really is a very narrow opening into this green, and going in with long irons, if you don't hit it in the short grass, it's impossible.
Steve, what's the difference? You won here in the British Amateur years ago. What is the difference in this golf course today and yesterday?
Well, it was match play. It was okay. We didn't have to post a score.
Was it this difficult, though?
It was. Curtis, it's never played easy. And Benalik had a great line early in the week. He says when the wind's blowing, Carnousie's the toughest course in the world, and when the wind's not blowing, he thinks it's the toughest course in the world. It's that hard, Curtis. It would be a great match play course as we go to 11 and third shot and a tough one to boot. But when you see a player as calm as David lose his cool, you know it's tough out here. Now at 4.
As Tiger was in the bunker, we saw him wiping the sand out of his eyes. One of the worst things playing shots into the wind out of bunkers. You get covered, you get a sand shower. There's the man beside him we've become so familiar with, Steve Williams, who's doing a tremendous job, I believe, of caddying for the young maestro.
You know, Ian, my mother always told me never hit bunker shots into the wind.
And always wash your hands after you've been to the bathroom and all those important things. And there's a perfect example of a little knockdown punch with a lofted club. A lot of spin on it, but also very difficult to stop it from turning over with the breeze. And let's see if he can save par for the 4th time in a row. Great par saves at 1, 2, and 3. I think this one a little more difficult. Craig Parry just having a look at what he has left. Came up short left. We'll take a quick look at Tiger Woods here. This is at the first for par. See how steady he keeps his head. Doesn't look up until it's halfway to the hole. Second hole after a fantastic bunker shot from 60 yards short of the green. Look at this from about 25 feet. Well, he certainly forgot about that cameraman after that putt. Now the third, this also for par. Difficult second putt, left to right. Breeze helping it as well. Wonderful touch. We'll leave Tiger there as we head down to Jimmy Roberts. He's with Ernie Els.
Well, Ernie, I don't know that you've probably had a round recently where you've come in with 74 and received all the congratulations and the demand going to the press center and everything. Give us the very first damage report of the day. How difficult is it out there?
You don't want to believe how difficult it is, Jimmy. I mean, you know, we got fairways that's 14 yards wide, and that's wide fairways, and you got a 25-mile-per-hour wind blowing out there, and it's gusting up to 30, maybe 35. So to keep the ball in play is immensely tough to do. To keep your mind on what you're doing is also tough. To take mistakes, and sometimes it feels like you're making silly mistakes, but you got to just take it in and go to the next hole. It's like every hole is a new challenge. Really it is. Every shot almost is a new challenge. So, you know, some guys, I mean, I'm going to take a week off, at least a week off after this week. But I'm in there, you know, I made a lot of putts today. I've just been watching what Tiger's been doing. You know, I kind of did the same today, and that's what you got to do. You got to make the putts.
We've already had Nick Price come through here and tell us that he thinks that the RNA has gone over the top and this is unfair. What's your opinion?
Well, I played a practice round here last Thursday, and we had beautiful weather, and I played a really solid practice round, and I think I shot 1 or 2 over. Yeah, I would say it's a little unfair. You know, you've got holes 580 into the wind, like the 6th hole, and you've got no room to play at. They're playing us off every back of every tee, and they're just stretching it right to the limits and maybe over it. You know, I haven't seen a golf course play like this in the Open Championship before, and I've played maybe 8 of them now. So, you know, they've set a mark, you know, and hopefully they don't come back to that kind of mark again.
What's the hardest thing about playing on a day like today? Is it the putting? Is it keeping it in the fairway? What is it?
It's keeping the ball in the fairway from the word go. You know, we can hit iron shots. Most of these guys can hit the golf ball, but there's no room. You know, if you don't have room, I mean, I don't care how good you are, you're not going to keep the ball in the fairway. The fairways are lovely. We haven't seen too many of the fairways so far this week, but you know, the guys can play the game. But if you have a golf course like this, you know, I can take you to South Africa and put you in the field there and cut a strip of 14-yard fairway and put you out there. Nobody's going to break par.
All right, we'll just go out to the 4th hole now in Tiger Woods.
And he didn't make it 4 saves in a row. He's just slid it by. But sometimes you got to take your medicine and accept the bogey. He hit a bad tee shot, found himself in the fairway bunker. Accept the 5, go to the next. Let's go back to Jimmy.
Well, I know that you're, hey, you have a number of things on your mind, including your new daughter, Samantha. I wonder how traveling without is working out for you. Have you got your mind on something else as well?
It's great, man. You know, it's been wonderful. It's 7 weeks now, as you say. Samantha is wonderful. I mean, Liesel's not getting too much sleep, but you know, I got to congratulate Phil Mickelson and Amy. You know, they just had a little baby girl, so we're all family men now. So it's wonderful, and it gives you, especially on a day like today, it gives me something to think about getting home. You know, I put a smile on my face no matter what I shoot today. So it's nice.
Good reason to smile on a day like today. Ernie, thanks very much. Let's go out to Steve Melnick.
All right, Jimmy, thank you very much. We go out to the 2nd hole. Greg Turner, who birdied the 1st. He's currently the only player in this field in red figures. And now there are none. You go. Well, Carnoustie coming in with the players, like Ernie said, all knew it would be tough. I'm not sure they knew it would be this difficult. No one under par.
We're back at the 10th. Colin Montgomery putting for a 3. Well, that's the way to start the back 9. Shot 39 the front, back to 2 over. It's not bad. The average score of the front 9 is 40, 4 over par. And it doesn't look too bad when you look at it from there. Wind blowing about 15 to 20. But the course, Curtis, is really green, isn't it? It's not like a links course at all.
They've had a very wet spring here, and it's in the finest shape that I've ever seen a links course in. It's beautiful. Just not enough of it. The short stuff.
Exactly. I think they've been fertilizing the rough a little bit too much. Lee Jansen putting at the 7th. Lee Jansen was 4 over par through 6 holes. Double bogey, bogey, bogey. That was for birdie. At least he's got a little tap in left for his par. Pretty hard marker on himself. He said he was currently on a -4 on a scale of 0 to 10. I'm not too sure he's playing that badly.
Finchy.
Yes, Mike?
Where are you staying this week, buddy?
See that boat?
Uh-huh.
Not there.
Okay. But not too far from there, in that direction, right?
Just to the right of there. I'm staying at the old course at St. Andrews. This is back to the 9th and Greg Turner.
Actually, Patrick Scholand tapping in for his par at the 9th, Ian. So Patrick Scholand is 1 over, out in 37. He birdied 3 of the first 4 holes. We told you when we came on the air at -3, Scholand was the leader, but he made a double at 5. Still 37 on the front, as you've mentioned, is more than respectable today. 10 players tied for the lead at even par. And there comes a point when, yes, at home you like to see the best players in the world struggle, but you also do want to see some birdies made, and we're not going to see many birdies all week.
Well, look at this leaderboard. Hal Sutton only 1 over on the first 9. He is a guy who can hit the ball low enough and straight enough to maybe do well.
Well, we'll take a break on a day thus far when there have been more double bogeys than birdies in the opening round of the British Open presented by MasterCard.
Railroads are inevitably associated with so many of the great British seaside courses. Simply and sensibly, you took the train to play golf in the 19th century. Happily, that remains the case here. This is the Carnoustie train station, a 5-minute walk away from the championship course. It's about a 15-minute ride from Dundee, the nearest city of any size, to the course, and less than an hour to Edinburgh, the handsome capital of Scotland.
We welcome you back at the 18th, the very difficult par 4 finishing hole, playing 487 yards. Justin Rose is second.
Has to be careful of the burn fronting the green, and obviously didn't have enough of a lie to go over it. That's the trouble. If you do drive it in the rough, you have to be so careful of bunkers, guarding greens, burns. Your first thought is to put it back in the fairway. Let's take a look at the 8th hole, because it can play as tough. 18, I'm sorry. But you see right toward the hotel, the 3 bunkers on the right you have to avoid. The 3rd one, as we said earlier, Johnny Miller's bunker, had a chance to win back years ago. Took 2 to get out. Most of the players downwind laying up with a long iron, possibly a 4-wood. And then today playing very short, only an 8, 9, possibly a wedge to this green. Into the wind, much more difficult. Today's hole location all the way in the back left. Players have to land it on the very front of the green to keep it on the green. Let's go back to the 7th.
And Greg Norman for a birdie. This hole averaging 4.495, nearly 4.5 shots. Only 412 yards. And that's a beauty from the Shark. Fine birdie 3. There's only been 5 others of them there today, and he heads back to 2 over par for the championship. Dual winner here. Back to 2.
Corey Pavin and Gary Smith has been working with him and claims he is ready to play some of his best golf of the year. And look at this. Look at this by Mr. Pavin. Stone dead. His lack of length, surprisingly, may serve him well this week because he's not afraid to hit driver on the holes that are pretty tight. Now, here at the 5th, Des Smith, who has been solid thus far, even par, going with the long handle blade. I wonder if the long handle blade is something of an advantage in the wind. You're standing a little taller, though. I'd wonder if you wouldn't get buffeted a little bit. Ian, have any
Yeah,
preference for that?
I would think you'd be buffeted a little more, and I guess the one good thing is it's a lot heavier than a regular putter. Maybe it swings a little easier like a pendulum, but I wouldn't like to be using one, Steve.
And that a great save for Des Smith here. As we said earlier, this is a day for saving pars and not making birdies, although Bernhard Longer in his round of 72 today made 4 birdies during his round. And now here in 8, Lee Jansen, his tee shot. One of the best today, the 8th measuring 174, and until recently has played into a very strong crosswind. There's simply no birdie holes out here today. Now up ahead at 11. This is Monty's 3rd at the par 4.
He drove it in the fairway bunker. Steve had to play wedge out to here. He's got a 50-yard pitch in front of him up over this level.
Well, he hasn't been too good tee to green, but he's certainly saved what he can with his putter as we go to 18.
Well, the last time Justin Rose had a wedge at the 18th at the British Open,
it was without a doubt the loudest roar I have ever heard on a golf course.
that was from 45 yards. He's about 60, maybe 55 yards from the front of the green on back there.
You know, I'll never forget it. 17 years old, trying to win the British Open. What a scene it was. And gosh, he played well on the weekend with all that pressure, all the attention.
It's currently at 6 over, and we go to 7.
Jim Furyk playing his second to the 7th.
7-iron in from 151, right back into the wind.
Currently 1 over and also up there, having a good show. We've seen him play so well in this Open Championship the last 3 or 4 years. Twice finishing 4th. Not a bad shot there. Just coming up a little short. Davis Love about to play next, and he's even further right.
Well, actually a pretty good position, though, just in the very short rough, short of the bunker. Jim's shot made him take one more club. Had an 8-iron out from 147. That was a 7.
And a wise decision, Judy. Perfect length for Davis. He too playing very well. Even par after 6 holes. Back to 5.
Tiger Woods, his second.
Well, Steve, having pulled it and missed the fairway in the bunker, he's very close to the lip. He's got 143 yards to the front. It looks like he's got a long club out trying to run it up there. Be a miracle shot if he gets it on the green.
You know, these bunkers are just deep enough where they tempt you. Saw him hit it a little bit fat. They tempt you to go for the green, and if you hit the lip, you come right back in your footsteps.
But Curtis, the sand is just soft enough. The ball kind of settles down in just a hair. It's always tough to catch it clean.
Yep, sure is.
And 5 playing slightly downwind today. It's one of the easier holes today. It has been anything but easy for the game's best players. I think it's safe to say that we won't see anything under par the rest of the day. Davis Love out quickly, out well. He's tied at the top at even par in the 128th playing of the British Open.
Justin Rose at the 18th. This putt for bogey.
Some say he possibly turned pro a little early, wasn't mature enough. He's grown a couple inches since last year. Your swing does change, your feels change. Only he's the one that knows.
Still says he doesn't regret turning pro. Shoots 79 today with the double at the last. Was even par on the back 9 until that double. A tough finish for Justin Rose, but he's not alone on this opening day. Back to 7.
Jim Furyk putting for birdie. Saw him come up just a little short.
Ian, he just saw Nick Faldo putt on the same line from the front of the green. The putt moves from the left, and Nick left it quite a ways high.
Well, he was a good student, Judy. Almost rolling that one in. He'll stay at 1 over par, though, through 7 holes. We'll head back to 5.
Third shot for Tiger Woods. Flagstick in the upper portion of the green. It's got to get lucky to judge the distance properly, but he has done it beautifully here and has that left for par. Up ahead at 7.
Davis Love has an opportunity here for a birdie. Be the only man under par in the whole championship. There's still 4 or 5 groups yet to tee off. Last group today goes at 4:15 local time. Currently 3:35.
Just the putt you would like to have also. Up the hill and breaks from the right.
One under par.
So Davis Love, the only player in red figures, a man who accepts what the golf is about here and loves the British Open. I think a player who has that attitude coming in, even though it's hard to love this event right now, at this moment, I think they're well served because their mind frame can handle the difficult conditions a little bit better. Agree?
It's going to be a long marathon this week. Absolutely. He has a good attitude about it. He does enjoy it. Like you said, nobody's enjoying it right now, but there'll be a lot of good stories 6 months from now when you're sitting in the bar somewhere. But Lenny Matisse, even par. But you see, so many of the even pars and one-overs are just early round.
Steve Payton, Dudley Hart shooting 2 over, very good. Dudley, whose 8-iron was accidentally left back in the States, had his wife FedEx it over for $500. Money well spent, 73 today. There's Gary Player, still going strong, Gary Player.
Mark McNulty with a good score of +2. One of the finest putters in the world. Greg Norman +2 through 7.
Katsuyoshi Tomori was in the field, or in the group, I should say, with Justin Rose. And look at what he shot. Same as Ernie Els and Dennis Paulson, the runner-up at Westchester last month.
Can you imagine how big it would be if one of the Japanese players won?
You were better to say because you played football.
It would be. They'd give him a parade in downtown Tokyo. I know that. Maybe 2 or 3 of them.
75 for Billy Andrade and Jarmo Sandelin. Jeff Maggart as well. Jeff, the winner of the World Golf Championship, the Anderson Consulting Match Play. Tom Lehman, whose frustration was pretty apparent. He walked off the last green after making a double at the last and was very unhappy with his day. And it was a pretty good score, too, relative to what the rest of the field has done.
Vijay Singh +6. His last 4 tournaments, I think the worst place is 7th. PGA champion last year.
Thomas Levet of France, along with the Shiginator, Shigeki Maruyama, shot 78 today. Stuart Appleby had actually a pretty decent day going before he got to the last few holes and struggled.
Mark Calcavecchia, former champion here.
10 years ago in 1989.
Steve Elkington +8. Thought he'd do a little better. Good striker of the ball.
You see Seve, the champion in 79 and 84 and 88. Shot 80. Steve Stricker also shot 80. 81 for Jimenez and Mayfair. And where it all began in terms of British Opens and British Open Championships for Tom Watson. 11 over. Mike Weir, first Canadian to play in the British Open in the 90s. And Sergio Garcia, 89 on this opening day with so much expected. He's finished first and second his last 2 starts on the European Tour in very prestigious events. That's the field. Back to the 7th. I'm sorry, we'll move it to the 5th instead.
Tiger Woods trying to salvage par again. Well, you can only go to the well so many times. Now up ahead at the 8th. Lee Jansen. We saw the great shot in there and the conversion. Jansen always handy with the blade. Aren't many birdies to be had today, but Davis Love out early. Not a bogey on the card. He's 1 under and in the lead.
We're back at 6. Tiger on the tee, 578-yard par 5.
Just hitting a long iron to keep it short, or maybe just to the right of the 3 bunkers. There you have it, just short of the first bunker. That's the percentage play. That's the smart play. You can't get home in 2 anyway. You got to lay up in the same tight 14-yard area. So you might as well put the first one in the fairway.
He hit it right. The place called Hogan's Alley is on the left, where Hogan started it way out left, where there's out of bounds along the entire left side of that hole, and cut it back into the small part of the fairway.
As you see, Davis Love, 1 under par. He's been kind of quiet this week. You hadn't heard much, haven't seen much, haven't read much about him.
Nope.
He certainly has the game to win here.
Davis last year finished 7th and finished 10th at Troon. You'd think that equation, going to one of the top 5 players in the world, would all factor into someone who would be a heavier favorite in discussion. He's currently at the 8th.
All right, Mike, it was in 1969 that a club pro from Charlotte, North Carolina by the name of Davis Love Jr. came to Royal Lytham and finished 6th, and since then, young Davis has always wanted to come over here and win this championship. It's always been very special to him because how much it meant to his dad. And now Davis finds himself in the lead. Brother Mark on the bag. Davis waits as Faldo plays through the back of the green.
Actually, we've got just a tad of confusion out here. Nick is just now nearing the green. I'm not quite clear as to who is actually away, Steve.
It appears as though Nick made a pit stop on the way to the green.
Well, that would be correct.
Well, we'll take Nick's pit stop opportunity to remind you that Friday Night Fights presented by Budweiser comes your way on ESPN tomorrow at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, 12-round USBA super middleweight title bout. Bryant Brannon's the champ. Demetrius Davis is the challenger. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, Go.com. Friday Night Fights presented by Budweiser tomorrow night. All right, Steve, back at 8.
Well, now Jim Purick's going to play, Judy.
Get up.
Happened to go around with Purick yesterday, and he was really solid from tee to green. He has something akin to a driving iron in his bag. He's been 4th the last 2 years here at the Open Championship, and quite frankly likes the fact that no one's given him so much as a whisper of a chance this week. Purick hits the ball very low, very straight. Seems to love these conditions. And now Faldo. Easy. Well, it has been a curious fall from grace for Faldo, his life personally, his game professionally. As we go to 6.
Tiger's second.
Possibly the scariest second shot I've ever seen on a par 5, going with a middle iron.
Because of the very narrow landing area up there. Right after where Tiger hit it, it's about 11 yards wide for about 10 or 11 yards in length. We'll go back to 8 again.
Davis with a putter just off the front of the green. Ooh. He's not disappointed. These flag sticks are rather large. They're light in weight, but they're large in diameter. And sometimes you wonder if maybe they don't take up a little space there in the hole. So Davis Love, winner of the PGA at Wingfoot a couple of years ago. It's a little early to talk about second majors, but he certainly put himself in good position.
3:45 here in Scotland, and some rain is beginning to fall. As you watch in the morning back in the States, Davis Love III, the only player under par. He has a one-shot lead over a group of now 16 players who are tied at even par, but of those 16, only one, Rodney Pampling, is finished. And all the other 15 have just begun. No one has seen the 6th hole yet, so the conditions are deteriorating just slightly. Rain coming in will not bother these folks. Back to 8.
Jim Furyk for his par. Boy, does he have a tidy game for links golf. Has this little shot that's almost like a topspin forehand. It runs a long way down these fairways, and he is very effective. As he looks around, Davis Love taps in for his par. Love remains 1 under as we go ahead to 12.
479-yard par 4. Colin Montgomery with this for par. Seen Monty make a couple of par putts. He's +3. Birdie on 10, bogey on 11. After making the turn in 3 over 39.
The 12th hole, a par 4 this week, but a former par 5. They change it for the championship.
And at the end of what may be the most difficult stretch, at least for today, 9 through 12. We'll drop you back to the 6th, and Des Smith, who opened with 5 consecutive pars, had that for his first birdie of the day. So Smith, who played here in 75, the Open Championship at Carnoustie.
He's been around a long time, been a solid, consistent player on the European Tour.
Age 46, this is his 25th year playing on the European Tour. Last one 6 years ago. We're going to go to 14.
If there is a birdie hole here, this is the only one. It's a par 5 measuring 515. Can be reached in 2. Duval having a go at it with a mid-iron.
Well, as you just heard Steve Milnick say, this is the only birdie hole of the golf course. The 14th hole, 515-yard par 5. The key here is to get it around these bunkers on the left. After a good drive, just short of the landing area right there, the narrow area is to avoid the spectacles, the 2 bunkers you see right there. And then from there, rolling up, it's all downhill to the green, and that's what makes the second shot difficult because it's downwind. You have to land it in this area, and then it's a guessing game on where it's going to stop.
Well, Curtis, David found that left green side bunker. That's well short of the green, and that bunker is hidden because of the spectacle mounds, so named for the 2 side-by-side bunkers. You can't see them from this angle, but they front the players. You can't see the green. And there's really a narrow opening. There they are. They're right behind that hill, the spectacle bunkers. And they block the front of the green. And it is a unique feature here. When the wind turns around, sometimes you can't get across them in 2. Today, downwind. Easily done as we go to 13.
172-yard par 3 today, playing down breeze. Montgomery with the 9-iron. This green also guarded very well with bunkers. 1 in front, 3 around it. Back to 6.
Tiger's 3rd.
After a 2-iron and a 5-iron, little punch with a 6.
Doesn't that look fun? Woo. Only 2 birdies at the 6th today. 43 bogeys, 13 doubles.
This, as Gary's just said, won't be fun. There's a ridge coming down right here. He has to go over. There's another ridge right here. He has to break it off to the right there and then picking up speed down by the hole. I'm glad it's him and not me. But actually hit 2 clubs too much, Gary, it looked like.
He was intending to try and keep the spin off the ball, and the wind just dropped a little bit as he hit it.
So as Tiger Woods sits at 2 over par, and only 1 player is finished with a round of even par, Rodney Pampling. Our lead is held by Davis Love at this point. 1 under his He moves to the 9th. On the other side of a message, you will get a Sports Center update. What happened yesterday? Look ahead to what's going on the second half of the baseball season getting underway back in the States. Kenny Mayne and Linda Cohen will have that, and then we'll be back. Remember, we are with you until 2 Eastern time, so 3 hours and 10 minutes. Still remaining in our coverage of the Open Championship, the 128th British Open presented by MasterCard. The greats who've won here before, like Charles and Player, along with the current day greats like Els and Woods, all battling Carnoustie, the toughest golf course that this championship has ever seen. So far, the answer is yes. Sports Center after the break.
Carnoustie's first Open was that of 1931. Tommy Armour, who had emigrated to the United States from Edinburgh, had a brilliant fourth round of 71 and then had to sweat out his total of 291. Percy Ellis, the sire of Peter Ellis, needed a 4 at the last to tie, but hooked his brassy out of bounds. And poor Jose Jurado of Argentina with the... We're back again at the British Open. This was Tiger Woods' putt for a birdie on the 6th hole. Watch it as it goes up, down, up again, and then towards the flagstick. A hummock, a valley, a hummock, and then it finally sort of flattens out. Look at that. This was for a birdie. Came that close. He made the putt to remain at 2 over for the championship. Tiger just 3 shots off the lead at the moment, in very good position. He's been scrambling for his pars most of the way, however. Davis Love III is in sole possession of first place at the moment. And as you see behind him, an entire platoon: Pampling of Australia, Bob Twade, Des Smith of Ireland, Miguel Angel Martin of Spain. We have Scott Watson there, Corey Pavin, Greg Turner, Matthias Groenberg. What a crowd. And there are more than that. Look, still at even par. Peter Leonard, Paul Lawrie of England, Donald Luke, a very promising player at the moment. It just goes on and on, right down to Scott Dunlap at 1 over, Bernhard Langer at 1 over, and everybody else. Let's take a look. I'm keeping my little notes here, and I'll be able to read my little notes this way. International flavor. Just a few minutes ago, or let's say half an hour ago, we had 11 players tied for the lead, and they represented 9 different countries. That's what makes the British Open really one of the things that makes it different than any other championship in the world. As for high scores today, well, the average so far is 78.4. 78.4 for the average score. Some individual scores: Sergio Garcia, the 19-year-old Bundekind from Spain, 89 today. You hear about people shooting their age. Well, he shot 70 over his age today. Tom Watson, the 5-time champion, shot 82. Steve Elkington, 78. The defender, Mark O'Meara, had an 83 today. The United States champion, Payne Stewart, 79. Justin Rose, the kid who made the great shot last year, tied for 4th, I believe, 79 today. It goes on and on. There have been 125 birdies. However, there have also been 138 double bogeys. So that's the way it's going so far. We're going to bring in now an old friend, an old colleague, and a man who just, I think he kind of revels in the damage that this golf course of Scotland is doing to the greatest players in the world. Himself one of the greatest British players ever, Peter Ellis.
Thank you, Jim, and it's very nice to see you looking so chipper and well. I wouldn't say I'm reveling in their discomfort, although a slight smile may cross my generous features from time to time, because I think this really is a most extraordinary place. As you can see, it's a little country village nestling by the sea, where golf has been played before Columbus discovered America, which is something to think about. It has the most extraordinary golf course in the championship links, umpteen other golf courses around and about, and all in all, it's a touch of magic. Of course, the game outgrew the town, and that's why it's been 24 years since we've been here, but with certain modifications, a new hotel perched right behind the 18th green, doing the course up. We're back again. Here's Olazabal at the 5th for a birdie.
Peter, he is even par for the championship, and he went to even par with that birdie there at 5.
Yes, despite his wayward driving, I think he may be a feature this week. Davis Love at the 9th, who at this moment is the only player under par.
spent a lot of time practicing with Jack Lumpkin back at Sea Island. It's very windy on the practice area there, and spent a number of days practicing hitting the ball low. Not a lot, mind you, but at least he could physically hit the shot when needed.
Well, you see Derek Cooper there. He's a long-time old pro here. Built for comfort, not speed, Derek, and he's opened up with a birdie at the first hole. And there's Smith at the 7th. He's got this to go to 1 under.
Really something of a surprise to see him play well. If you look at his form this year, there's nothing in it to give you any indication.
Jim Furyk at the 9th has this for a bogey, and he's not going to make it. So 2 shots go there. Judy, are you enjoying it?
Oh, I certainly am. Jim Furyk found horrible trouble to the right side of number 9. Could hardly see his golf ball to try to pitch it out 20 yards. Lucky at this point to make 5. His 3rd shot in was from 275 yards. This pairing, though, of Davis Love, Nick Faldo, and Jim Furyk played the 9th hole in almost a dead calm. The trees that border the left protected the fairway just a little, and it was the quietest it's been for several days.
Tiger Woods at the 7th. Gary Smith, how's he going?
Fine, thank you, Peter. After a 2-iron off the tee, Tiger's got 212 yards to the hole. He just switched, I think, from a 3-iron to a 2-iron. Trying to keep it very low.
Well, you saw the result of that one. Well away on the left. Tiger made, well, really a heroic start, holding very good putts on the opening holes. And this is going to be a hard day, and you could have a small wager with somebody that level par 71 might, I say might, be the leading score come 9 o'clock tonight. And that's quite an amazing thing when you think of championship golf over the years. We're always used to seeing a number of players under par, no matter how difficult the conditions. And it's extraordinary how people have different points of view as we look at Davis for a par. And he's rolling along very nicely. There's danger lurking everywhere. This golf course has thick rough, yes, and it has narrow fairways, and it's got a stiff breeze blowing. Believe you me, in this neck of the woods, this is no more than a good breeze. And it's made the golf course very difficult. This is a difficult examination paper. It's not schoolboy French. This is Oxford and Cambridge stuff now. Mark McCumber's there with Monty.
Well, Monty's hit a perfect tee shot, Peter, right down the middle on this blind tee shot. They play over the gorse on this hole. He's just come off saving par on the last 2 holes. He got the ball up and down at the bunker on 13. He is caddied going over the yardage.
Those 2 great bunkers there. The reason this hole is called the Spectacles. It sits there like a giant pair of glasses, and Monty's taken a line on one of those TV towers or something.
Well, he's chosen a 7-iron, and that is 210 yards, so the wind still is blowing a bit.
And up she comes, right into the middle of the green. Should slow down on that little hump there. Will it just climb over? Yes.
And technically, I guess, Peter, that's the 4th green back there, isn't it?
Yep, it is. I find it interesting for perhaps those that follow golf more closely, or I hesitate to say for the connoisseur, but it is interesting to see how great players tackle a different set of equations, a different examination paper. And so far, nobody's sort of doing it remarkably well. This is Des Smith at the 8th.
Actually aiming down the out-of-bounds left. It is painfully close to the left edge of the screen, but the wind is blowing from the left.
7-iron for Des, former Ryder Cup player. And he finds the bunker where many have been today. See, I think you've got to have an entirely set of thoughts when you come to a course like this under these conditions. 14th hole, Brian Watts.
That is a mere 8-iron to this par 5.
And he seems to hit the ball so gently. That's what's so intriguing.
He has played very well today. He's only 3 over, Peter.
It's interesting to say he's played pretty well today. 3 over. We're so used to people being 6, 8, 10, 12 under par. But that's what's part of the fascination of links golf and this championship. Tiger at the 7th.
Well, Peter, he has hit 2 of his 6 greens so far today. He's been scrambling from all over the place. Finds himself about 20 paces short of the green and pitching into the wind.
Looks as if he's setting himself up for one of these full swing, open blades, smash it in the air jobs. Perhaps not the ultimate, not the full Monty. Oh, pretty well the full. He really has the master touch with that shot. It's hard to believe some of the scores today, particularly we've been nearly carried away by young Sergio Garcia, but he opened up with a 7 and ended up with an 80. Now, this man might be around come Sunday night. Norman for a par at the 10th, and he didn't want it. The ball didn't want to go, but it disappeared. And who knows? A magical 3 days ahead. Who's going to wander off with the old claret jug? Welcome back to the east coast of Scotland. Woods for a par at the 7th.
It's putted beautifully all day to just be 2 over.
Yes, well, he's done it again. A lesser mortal might have been about 6 over now, but Tiger's 2 over and very much in the hunt.
Well, Peter Alice, Tiger Woods teed off at 2:05 local time today. Tees off at 9:25 tomorrow. That's local time. We're on the air with you back East Coast, 9 a.m. Eastern. The West Coast, 6 a.m. Pacific. See if Mark O'Meara can improve on his day one effort as the holder, the 128th British Open, presented by MasterCard. Tomorrow on ESPN, 5 more hours with you, then on ABC over the weekend. All right, Peter.
10th. Nick Faldo's second shot.
Well, he has found the rough to the left. This day did not start out particularly well, and then it got worse back at the 7th hole when he drove out of bounds, went double bogey at 7 and 8. 228 yards into this green, this hole playing right downwind.
Stand still, please.
Ah, the familiar tones of Fanny. A dominant woman. No cameras, please. That's another one of hers.
Byrne crosses the fairway short of the green, but well short of this green. And the green has been very fast and firm.
That's going to end up well.
Got a lot out of a 6-iron from way back there, Peter.
Yep. That's a beautiful result for Faldo. I'm sure there'll be many that will say the rough is too severe in places, but because it's a long course, and reducing it to 71, I think, was a mistake. I mean, I would, if I were playing, I'd still think this was a par 72. I'd work on that theory just to comfort myself. Davis Love now.
From 196, Davis has a 7-iron. Good lie in the fairway. If you can ever find the fairway, the ball sits beautifully.
Judy, his choice of clubs off the tee?
Steve, it was an iron. I cannot tell you more accurately than that, but the right-hand bunker that he is just beyond is about 225 yards off the tee. Well, bringing this one in from the left.
Looks like he got over it just a hair. Careful. Okay. Boy, got lucky. It just stayed up back there. That's Brother Mark with Davis as we take a look at the 10th hole, the 466-yard par 4. Tee off from a shelter of trees. Sometimes you don't always feel the wind, and a nest of bunkers to the right. So you'd like to fit your tee shot, as Davis did, between the bunker there on the left and the right-hand side of the fairway. The farther you drive it, the more narrow the landing area becomes. Then the first of the Barry Byrne holes. Here is the Byrne crossing in front of the 10th There's some days when the wind blows into your face off the ocean, it's a little scary to try to get across in two, but that's not the case today.
Shurik from the bunker on the left.
And the ball did not get very far into the bunker. It keeps him away from the sodded face of it, but he's got a little downhill slope. This is not an easy shot. Excellent shot from there.
Beautiful shot, Judy. To get it onto the green was very good from the sand. You've got to be so precise when striking down on such a spot. There's old Fluff. He still looks all right, doesn't he?
Heavy rain back behind us, behind the 10th hole here. I don't know if it's going to make it to the golf course, but it looks like very heavy rain.
Well, it wouldn't be Scotland if there wasn't the occasional little shower.
Seems to be the only element missing here, Peter.
Squally. Squally showers, they call it. Montgomery's on the 14th in 2, the par 5. This for an eagle. Settle for a bogey, I think. Would he? Oh.
Peter, he hasn't handled the heat well. He's got a terrible British Open record. Any guess as to why?
No idea. 5 cuts, what is it, 5 in the last 7 he's missed. And yet, you know, I've seen him play some wonderful golf at times when the heat's been really on. Davis Love and Derek Cooper at 1 under, but on the 8th tee, Tiger Woods.
And the wind has eased off just a little bit, still coming from the left. This looks like it could be as little as an 8-iron.
Gary, I hear raindrops.
Just spotting slightly, but as Judy mentioned, in the far ground there, it looks awful. It looks like we could get soaked soon.
Good shot. Well, the flag's hardly moving there, so... But behind you can see the branches just swishing about a bit. Let's have a look at a few prominent names and see how they're faring today. Now, the par here is 71, which is very strict indeed. So anyone around about 72 or 288 if you're counting up 4 rounds, I think will be in with a strong contention on Sunday. Ernie Els was out relatively early this morning. 3 over, that's 74. Anyone under 75 or better today will certainly not be out of the hunt. Carlos Franco, who's been playing so well, an 80. Seve an 80. Payne Stewart, 79. And Garcia only just broke 90. That'll give heart to every long handicapper. Davis Love at the 10th has missed his putt for a birdie, and Faldo has this for a birdie. He's 7 over. He needs a little bit of magic to arrive before the rain. He's been putting a little bit better recently. 3 rounds last week at Loch Lomond, he held a number of good putts, and then it came a bit unstuck on the last 18.
Did he make triple bogey at the last hole last week?
Yeah, he did. Cross-handed. He's trying everything, but the practice swing looks okay sometimes, but sometimes he appears to pick it up a little bit and dab down on it. Whether that has anything to do with them not going in the hole.
First played here in 76 in the Open Championships, has never missed a cut.
That looked a good stroke, but it'll go right. So only a 4.
Peter, pretty impressive.
Oh, yes, very impressive. When you consider he hasn't had a great run over the last couple of years, really. But that's not bad, is it? Until you say, look at Jack Nicklaus's. And I think Jack's, if you took Jack's victories out, his results here have been quite amazing. Ollie at the 6th. 4th shot. Sounds awful, doesn't it? But it is a par 5. Chip and a putt for a par. Or maybe a putt and a putt. A putt. And still a putt. A good putt left. He's such a wonderful long iron player, Ollie, that he might figure as Furyk taps his in. That's a par 4 for him.
The double at 9 marred what has been a very solid opening 10 holes for Furyk.
See the little competitor's badge on the... I'm often asked by folks here, what are those little badges? And it's denotes you're a competitor, and they become very valuable little souvenirs as the years go by. Now Davis Love for his par.
You know, Davis became a very proficient putter when he identified a routine, pre-shot routine, that he could rely on more than the stroke. So the stroke really becomes a part of the routine more than just focusing on the putting stroke itself.
David Duval at the 16th, his second shot on this long par 3. Hello. Hello, David. What are you doing, David? Is it...
He almost looks distracted now.
I think he must have half-topped that, wasn't he?
Well, he's trying to play a soft pitch. I think the club kind of bounced off the hard turf.
Back to the 8th, and Tiger, who has a shortish putt for a 2.
What a remarkable start, Peter. He went to his round. You know, he really could have been really 4 over par early in his round, and the great saves at 1 and 2 and at 3, and he's made a number of good putts. He's not hit many greens in regulation.
No, but that's the sign of great players. They manage to keep it going when things aren't going particularly well for them. I wonder, though, Steve, how many in the interview tonight, or maybe if conditions are the same tomorrow, will continue to say, I really like links golf. This is really how golf should be. Imagination, conjuring up all sorts of shots, the wind and the rain. I love it.
Well, he embraces this kind of golf. You wonder if you say that at the conclusion of over 5 hours of battling all the conditions here. And Peter, this is really his first realistic birdie opportunity of the entire day.
Yep. No.
I think you get nervous sometimes when you have a legitimate birdie putt after slogging away at pars throughout the day.
You can't believe your good fortune. 2 over. There we are. That's the wonderful junior golf program here. The Golf Foundation have set up with the help of Sweps. The youngsters can come in free. Anyone with an adult, 16 and under, they get free lessons from PGA pros based up around the tented village. Mr. McGinty. That's pretty handy, isn't it? Everything now is for possible golfing memorabilia. A little light lunch. To hell with the calories. Let's get a few of those down. I'll have another one.
Welcome back to the British Open, where Davis Love has won a 3 tied for the lead. Segway, Davis Cup. The 100th anniversary of the Davis Cup. U.S. taking on Australia, 2 of the great rivals in Davis Cup history. That's coming up next at good old Longwood, Boston, Massachusetts. The Aussies and the Stars and Stripes. Coming up next, right after golf, here on ESPN. We currently have 75 players who have finished. 27 players have been in the 80s. That includes the one player who shot 90. Rodney Pampling's even par round of 71. Very, very impressive and standing up throughout most of the day. Most of the other players who are in the neighborhood of the top 20 haven't made the turn yet. See Longer and Dudley Hart and Steve Pate. Early rounds, successful rounds for them. Now I'm back through the players who shot 74, 3 over par. Billy Andre had a very good day at 75, along with Sandelin and Maggart. Jeremy Robinson. Haven't heard much about him from England. Tom Lehman walked off the golf course and said, "It's windy and I'm not happy," and moved on. Little does he know that his +5 was this good. The highest opening round scores since 1960 at the British Open. We're getting into near all-time since 60 record territory, with only the 64 open at St. Andrews being tougher. As a matter of fact, that's the second highest scoring round of any British Open since 1960. It is a record tough day, Mr. Els.
Yes, and there's still a long way to go. There's only 4 hours play yet. Now a little indecision. Now we're ready. Jim Furyk.
Jim Furyk with 158 yards into the hole. The wind back in your face now at 11. Had a 6-iron in his hand and has gone back to a 7. The wind is not nearly what it was a couple of hours ago, but it's still a very good wind.
I do like this play, Jim.
Jim has the odd double overlap grip, hands very close together.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Trying to hit a low cut and instead just hit a low pull.
Yes, and that suddenly doesn't look a very good shot, does it?
Gentlemen, the last few holes, he has been right and left and right and left. Seems to have lost control for a guy who normally hits it so straight.
Colin Montgomery second at the 15th.
This is a 7-iron, straight downwind.
Needed more.
Yeah, if it just
Oh,
gets down the hill, there it is, Peter.
It's coming nicely. I thought that was going to stop short, and he's ended up past the flag. A very birdieable putt there. Davis Love at the 11th.
An iron from the tee into the right rough, and he is very fortunate. He has caught quite a good lie in a little path area.
That's twice now. Judy's been offline and been able to play both of them.
Right. Played a little 8-iron here.
First at 7, then again here at 11. Who says luck doesn't come into play?
Oh, it will on a day like this. You need good ball striking, a cool head, a good putting stroke, holding out well from under 6 feet, and bits of good fortune. 1 under par leads the way.
Henry Cotton was a proud man of England who rankled at not being regarded, at least in the United States, as the equal of the best American. But Cotton, who would win 3 British Opens, made his point in 1937 at Farnston. The entire U.S. Ryder Cup team of that year was in the field. Cotton trounced them all, including the prodigies, Byron Nelson and Sam Snead. Cotton's finishing 71 with rain pelting down was a marvel. R.A. Whitcomb was runner-up. Nelson was low American, 6 shots back.
Montgomery with a chance to birdie the 15th and get to just 1 over. Long backswing there, free hit, and he's in. Well, he had some miserable holes in the middle of his first 9, I should say, and he's coming back very well, but there's still some dangerous holes. Olazabal at the 7th, second shot.
Peter got a long way away. He's laid well back off the tee, and he's got to be careful about an up-shooter back into this left to right wind.
412 yards, and that looks a bit hooky. No, it's not. It's come in beautifully.
Wow, what a play that is.
That should come off the hill. Beautiful judgment from Olazabal there. There's Smith. Smith with a Y at the 9th for a par. Oh, well. You never get nowhere by being too hasty.
When you played, were you a quick player?
Quickish, yeah. And, well, everybody was, you know. I'm just thinking Bobby Locke was castigated for going round in 2 hours and 50 minutes in a single in the Open Championship. Now they're allowed, what, 3 hours and 20 minutes, 30, 40 minutes longer. And you had to get through the gallery onto the tee, for your second shot, onto the green, off the green, onto the next tee, etc., etc. So, and they put up some pretty good scores with equipment that people think today is Antarctic, or is it archaic, or is it antique? I'll have to ask my advisor, Mr. Johnson.
They all fit.
They all fit. Tiger now.
Well, after an iron off the tee again, Peter, he's only used the driver once today. He's got a 5-iron. He's just checked the wind because The trees on the left can tend to block it a little bit. 228 yards to the hole.
Good shot.
Seems to be getting better later in the round. This is Faldo for par at 11. And that ambulance could be coming for Faldo. It has been that kind of day for him.
Put it into the left-hand bunker from the tee and close to the face of the bunker. Had to play a true bunker shot out and then his third to the back of the green there.
Almost there, huh?
You can imagine a player who's won 3 of these championships must find it incredibly painful to have to undergo something like this.
Well, it happens to everyone as they get a little older and their nerves get a little shaky, and they don't go on forever. This to get to 2 under.
Well, I think because that long putt is downwind, they all expect it to be just a little bit quicker than it is.
Peter, you said you played your last British Open in 1974.
Yeah.
What was the first thing to go in your game?
Well, I wasn't too good from close range with the putter. I never was a wonderful holer out. I used to have a few sort of 14, 15, 18 footers in the round, but I could miss from sort of 16 inches, and it didn't get any better as I got older.
Now, what about your license plate? What does it say?
Putt 3.
Putt 3, I see.
Yeah. But so like most things, you know, as you get older, there isn't much in life that gets a lot better, or you do a lot better.
The older you get, the longer it used to be?
Well, not quite, but the slower you get. Furyk for a par.
All right. Peter, a lot of the gentlemen you used to play golf with, some of the great names in the history of European golf, who compete on the ever-growing senior tour over here. They'll compete in the MasterCard Senior British Open. Beautiful Portrush, Northern Ireland. Brian Barnes will be one of the players that you'll see this time next week on ESPN. We'll step aside for a minute. More from Carnoustie, where the weather keeps changing, but the numbers don't. The scores are still going up. The average score, 7 over.
And here's Derek Cooper at the 4th. His second shot.
Peter playing at his 10th British Open and has sort of an okay record.
Yeah, not bad at all. He's a sort of journeyman pro from the Lancashire area, not far from Manchester, Lytham St Anne's, that sort of area. A good striker. 12th now, Davis Love.
Well, the wind coming from the right, it should be perfect to just set it at the bunkers at the right. Another iron from the tee for Davis.
Looked to have lost it to the left.
Yes, I think it sort of zoomed through this sort of strange light that comes across this hole. I think he's off the fairway. Here's another iron for safety.
Well, a Marshall up forward motion to the left. I'm actually back near the tee, and it is very difficult to see the fairway from anywhere near the tee. In fact, the bunkers are almost hidden to the players.
Peter, this is a driving iron I talked about earlier with Furyk. I happened to go around a few holes with him yesterday, and really has about 13 degrees of loft and can hit it a long way, particularly when the firm fairways and going downwind.
Yep. There's a number of the players using this sort of driving iron. Has he tweaked that left again?
This one going left also.
Yeah. Both of them are well to the left.
12th used to be a par 5. It's been converted. It plays 479 now, a par 4.
Bunkers at the right are something like 260 yards off the tee in that neighborhood.
Brian Watts at the 16th. Out of the sand or behind the bank.
That's the short right-hand bunker, and he's got a long bunker shot from there.
They got a name on it in a dirt city.
Stopped up a little bit too quickly on him.
Well, the 16th hole throughout the history of all events played here at Carnoustie has been incredibly difficult. When Watson played here in 1975, never made par here, not even in a practice round. The card says it's 250 yards. For most, it's just a nice short par 4. But here at this championship, it is a par 3 of bestial proportions. Wind blowing from left and downwind, and it is very difficult to hit this lifted, sort of plateaued green. One day in the 75 Open, wind was in their face, and Nicklaus was the only player to hit the green. It used a driver, if you can believe that. And the final 4 holes here at Carnoustie, it's not as though the first 15 holes are easy, because they're incredibly difficult, but look how difficult the last 4 play. And candidly today, the wind really helps you on 16, helps you on 18, hurts you on 17. So it is quite a finish. That's the Barry Byrne, the 17th fairway. They call it Island because you drive the ball there where you see the group of players there in the center of your screen. And then way up in the far right is the 17th green. Vijay Singh, one of the longest players in the field, hit driver 3-wood here today, and it has given players fits all day long as it plays right back into the teeth of this wind.
Birdie putt for Tiger Woods at the 9th, and it's just going to... Oh, Tiger's going along okay. Sergio Garcia, the young man from Spain, a couple of years younger, 2 or 3 years younger than Tiger. That's how they opened up their professional career. And it's interesting to look, isn't it, and compare. Woods, of course, is 3 or 4 furlongs ahead. But still young Garcia until today was going along nicely. But an 89 today will bring the young man there. Back to, oh, Derek Cooper at the 4 thought he'd bottled it. There you see the gentle movements. He's built for comfort, not speed, as I said earlier. He needs to, well, perhaps he's considered going to the health club on the treadmill, but decided against it.
Notice I'm laying out.
Well, the skies up there look a little bit angry. One of the great malt bins there, if you're wondering what those are over on the left, those sort of great things, they contain the well, or turn them into walt to make fine old whiskey. The old corn goes in there. You can get tiddly on the smell that comes out of that place within 20 paces. You don't stand there for too long. When the wind's in the right direction, you sort of totter away.
And it's amazing, too, how close the rail line comes to
well,
the
that's
course. By the 10th tee, it's right there.
Yeah. Used to.
Speaking of the 10th tee.
Craig Perry on the tee.
Well, Craig on the last hole hit a drive 325 yards using the wind in the firm fairways, and right downwind here again, but a very narrow fairway, Peter.
Well, Augusta has its wide fairways, and the difficulties there are found when you get on the green. So you could say the problems here are the narrow fairways, because the greens, in all honesty, have no great slopes on them. Just a different set of examination papers. Now, Tiger. Imagine if you made it obligatory to use a wood or driver off the tees. That would be fun.
I'd go with a short guy. I'd make Corey Pavin the favorite. What he's trying to do now, why he's talking to Steve Williams, he's trying to fit a shot between bunkers that extend out about 256 yards on the right-hand side of the tee, and he must hit the ball about 260, 270. Now, it looks wide and somewhat benign from there, but you don't see the facing bunkers on the right-hand side of the fairway.
Gets through the ball so well, Tiger. Beauty, beauty, they cry.
Heading towards the bunker and narrowly escapes there, just bounces off the side.
Good spot now, Gary.
Oh, yes, he was, I think he likes that one.
Davis Love at the 12th. Uh-oh. There, you see, you don't mess about with this stuff. Now, I don't know what he... looks as if he was just trying to bump it down the fairway 60 or 70 yards.
Well, that's exactly what he was trying to do, just a pitching wedge to move it, and I'm not sure that he moved it at all, and he could just barely see it.
Iron from the tee for position.
Peter, is this fair?
Oh, what's fair? Golf is never supposed to be fair. Why is it fair? This is the same for everybody. You know, you could say, is the Masters sensible having fairways 100 yards wide? Is it fair that these machines have put the poor old boatmen out of work? You know, used to row 'em across in the old days, Grace Darling and all that lot. What's fair? Get on with it, don't complain. I tell you, there'll be one fella here Sunday night, happy as a lark. Davis Love, 4th shot.
5-iron with that breeze coming hard from the right, 181 yards.
Looks online. Oh, yes, but a little strong. And from 1 under, he's going to go into the plus figures very quickly. All caused by the iron from the tee pulled into heavy rough. Monty for a par at the 16th.
He's made these all day.
Not that one. Furyk at the 12th, his 3rd shot.
Studied this one for a long time, probably a distance he had not imagined when practicing, inside of 150 yards. Good play.
Wonderful shot. Hal Sutton, 3rd at the 15th and going along very nicely. Level par.
Just coming off a birdie at the par 5 14th to move to even.
Craig Parry, the 10th, his 2nd.
Way back there, 233 yards to the hole. The burn in front of the green starts about 27 yards in front, so he's got to carry that.
And he does.
Easy, easy. Oh.
You know, even though they've had so much rain here for the last 4 months or so, the fairways don't take long to firm up with the wind blowing and just dries it out very quickly. Now, Tiger.
The players all week have been saying how difficult it is to keep the ball and stop the ball quickly on this green, and downwind, this is where Tiger's ability to put a lot of spin on the ball might help him, and how much speed he has through the hitting area should really help. 173 yards to the hole. This could be as little as a 9-iron.
Well, he really nipped into that one.
So difficult for these players, Peter, to come over here and learn to play the bounce.
Yes, well, instead of a 9-iron, he might have done better chipping a 6-iron, and there's nothing in his way in front of the green, but it's just a game with which they're very unfamiliar, and modern golf is played through the air. Olafable at the 8th.
He's been pretty solid today. 2 bogeys and a birdie. This from just off the front of the par 3. Going up a fairly severe slope there. You see it coming up.
Not bad. See, he's considered a wayward driver, but everybody's going to miss the fairways here. Even the good ones, and we saw what happened with Davis Love taking an iron for safety. Sutton has this for a par. No. He goes to 1 over.
Well, in the last few events in the state, Sutton has been rock solid tee to green.
17th, Monty. Second shot. And right into the heart of the green, but through the back. But not bad at all. 2 fours to finish would be good. Now, Davis Love, Scott Watson, Derek Cooper, all 1 under. But look at Rodney Pampling there. Finished early. He's still there. The old gang are waiting to talk to you after this break.
Ben Hogan won the 1953 Masters and U.S. Open. He then revealed he would go to Carnoustie for what would be his lone appearance in a British Open. Typically, Hogan arrived 10 days early to prepare. His descending scores in the championship were 73, 71, 70, and 68 to win by 4. Bernard Darwin, the Grand Master of British golf writers, put it this way.
If he needed a 64 in the last round, you were quite certain he could have played a 64. Hogan gave you the distinct impression that he was capable of getting whatever score was needed to win.
So we welcome you back to Carnoustie and ESPN's continuing coverage of the opening day of the 1999 British Open, and what a day it is. If you go back since 1960, this is on pace to be the 3rd toughest round in the last 40 British Opens. Let's update you on what's been going on at the 9th. Scott Watson, this for bogey. I missed it. Watson, who got in the field when Bill Glasson had to withdraw because of an elbow injury. Glasson, injured again, is going to miss 5 weeks. Watson chipped in the qualifying playoff to make it into the field, but there he makes a double and drops back to 1 over. Ahead to the 12th, the par 4. You saw Davis Love leave it in the rough earlier from off the green for bogey. Davis will make a double as well. It will drop him to +1. So just one player is under par. Derek Cooper has the lead right now, and I will wager every pound that I changed $1 into that he will not be under par when he makes the turn. Certainly not at the end of the day. Rodney Pampling, 71, the 30-year-old Aussie in his first Open Championship, holding up top the leaderboard at this point. Where we stand in our opening round just after noon on the East Coast. 2 more hours of live coverage as they're nearing supper time thoughts at 5 here on the East Coast of Scotland. We've seen some sun, some clouds, some showers. The wind has dropped a little bit. It's now back up somewhere between 15 and 20 miles per hour. Mike Tirico, Curtis Strange here at 18. Ian Baker Finch, the 91 Open champ, and Steve Melnick, the winner of the British Amateur here at Carnoustie, join us as well. Bob Rosberg on the golf course along with Gary Smith now. Frank Hannigan for rulings. Jimmy Roberts doing interviews. And, of course, our host, Jim McKay. Glad to be with you as our coverage continues. More than 20 hours worth this week. We go to the 10th and Ian Baker Finch.
Thanks, Mike. Tiger Woods. 3rd shot with the putter. And a wise selection of club there, I would suggest. Going back into the breeze from very short grass.
Ian, we've seen him use that 3-wood shot so many times from off the green.
218.
David Duval is for birdie. Boy, could he use one. He bogeyed 14, 15, 16, and 17. That difficult stretch proving difficult for David. +8 on the round. He's right around the scoring average on this opening day, shooting 79. 17.
Monty for birdie going back up the hill. Beautiful play. He has held together nicely. Hasn't hit it particularly well, but has saved his round with some great putting. Monty bogeyed the previous hole, the 16th, to drop the 2 over, but just 3 out of the lead. But as Mike says, I don't think that there will be anyone in red figures. And as you look back down toward St. Andrews and the Kingdom of Fife, as they say here, got some sun out there to the west. To 13.
Jim Furyk on the tee here at the short par 3.
Probably the most difficult flag placement they can have here, just over the little hump on the left. As you can see, once it gets over that hill, it's pretty well gone.
That's what the guys aren't used to. We're so used to having the ball stop. You control it. Once it hits the ground, it's pretty much under control. Here, it is not, especially in the wind.
Now Davis Love. Davis just leaving it out a little to the right. He also hit a pitching wedge, landed it just on the front of the green, allowing it to release forward 30 or so yards to the flag. Back to 11.
Tiger with the 1 iron in all likelihood. It's just a question of trying to fit a shot in the fairway. And a lot of people think this is an easy hole, but with the wind in their face, that hasn't been the case today.
Well, for a while there, Steve, the wind eased off, but it's really picked up again. It's right into his face again.
I'd like to hit it about 240, maybe 250. I'm not sure that's possible with this iron. I bet it wasn't very high, Gary.
It was a worm burner.
Let's take a look at the 11th hole. You just saw Tiger hit the long iron off the tee. Looks like a pretty simple hole, and if it wasn't for the wind, it would be. If you didn't have the wind, you just lay it up right, just short of the bunkers on the right. But with the wind, a lot of guys are having to hit a wood, and then the bunkers do come into play. The farther you drive it, the narrower the fairway. After an iron shot, Tiger or any player will have a 4 or 5 iron into this green and has a pretty good sized ridge running right through the front third of it. Today's hole location, back right. Let's go back to the 5th.
Derek Cooper over the back of this 2-tiered green, choosing the smart play with the putter. Okay. You never know what the wind's going to do. As we go ahead to Greg Norman, huge tee shot here at the par 5. This is second. Looks like as little as an 8 iron in here. And just skirted that bunker that really started the downfall of David Duval. He came here in pretty good shape at 4 over. Looked like he was going to make a sure birdie, but as Mike said, began his bogey train at 14, 15, 16, 17, and he joins Jimmy Roberts now. Jimmy?
Well, thanks very much, Steve. And David Duval in Ireland on a vacation last week. Would you rather have been fishing today?
No, not necessarily. I just would have scored better.
There was some suggestion that perhaps the way the U.S. Open finished for you might have provided some motivation here. Was that the feeling coming in for you?
I hadn't heard that one, but I don't necessarily think that would be accurate, because I think you need to motivate yourself regardless of the outcome of the last event you've played, and it's not. My score is not because of lack of motivation. It's just a lack of good play.
Is it solely good play, or do you feel the course setup is fair? It's obviously very, very difficult.
Fair, unfair, it's not for me to say. But I mean, I guess you're right. It's not strictly poor play as much as, 14 is what really kind of killed me. I was going along okay. I think I was about 3 or 4 over for the day, and, buried it right in the face of a bunker there and got no shot. And that's after having a no shot out of the bunker on back on 11, and, that just kind of killed me. And then hit a couple of good shots coming in that I made bogeys on. So, all in all, the score is what it is, but, they just slip away quickly.
But fair or unfair, what do you think?
It's not for me to judge. I wouldn't play a golf course like this every day, certainly, regardless of whether there's wind or not. The one thing is the golf ball is it's less than 2 inches wide, so it still fits in those fairways, but it does seem like fairways are much wider than the golf ball.
Is patience the toughest thing about a day like today?
No, I don't think so. Patience, I think, is the easiest part. At least it was for me. It was just you got to get so many good bounces and good breaks, and you're having to land golf balls so far short of greens, and you just never know what it's going to do once it hits the ground, and it could go anywhere. And a few of mine bounced well today. A few of them bounced really bad. You just never quite know.
All right, David Duval, the first round 79. Thanks for stopping by. Good luck tomorrow. Mike Tirico, back to you.
Jimmy, thank you. 18T, Colin Montgomery.
Just trying to keep it left of the 2 bunkers guarding the right edge of the fairway.
Oh, skirting the right edge of the burn.
Well, he kept it just barely left of the burn and right of the bunkers.
It'll be tough to find as well. Well, the top 5 in the world, Woods, Duval, Love, Singh, and Montgomery. The worst finish for the group was Vijay's tie for 24th at the Masters. For what it's worth, essentially, whoever finishes better in this championship, Woods or Duval, will be the #1 player in the world. There are a couple of permutations that there's no need to bother with at this point, but whoever finishes higher in most scenarios would be the #1 player in the world rankings come the end of the weekend. Monty tied for 11th and tied for 15th at 2 over right now.
If I could just say something about David Duval's comment on the fairways. Yes, it's not for him to judge is it fair or unfair, but remember, when you play a links golf course, the ball does roll out a long ways after you hit a tee shot. And on a links golf course, any tee shot down the middle of the fairway can go 15 yards to the right or to the left, depending on the bounce. Here, when the fairways are only 23 yards wide, that means it's going into the rough. So there are some unlucky bounces and a lot of good tee shots that don't end up in the fairway.
You see a lot of familiar names and some unfamiliar names who are off to early starts. They're going to try to keep it together around Carnoustie.
We're back at 11, and Tiger Woods' second shot.
Well, to give you an idea of how hard the wind's blowing, on the last hole he hit a 5-iron, in fact a wedge for a second shot. Here he's hit a 2-iron, and now he has a 6-iron into a 380-yard hole. The last hole being 466. Dramatic difference between into the wind and downwind, fellas.
It really is, Gary, and beautiful shot there. He really started working on this type of playing prior to the Western. We saw bits and pieces of it as he played shots at Cog Hill during his win at the Western Open a couple of weeks ago. Now, up ahead here at the par 5 14th, that's Jim Furyk on the tee.
Taking an iron, protecting the bunker there. It's about 290 out off the tee, even though it's a par 5.
Rossi, I happened to be with him here yesterday, and he hit a shot just like that ran about 100 yards. And now Davis coming off a bogey. Prior to that, the double bogey. He's now 2 over. This is his tee shot. Looking right.
Steve, from the tee, you can only really see that big bunker on the left. It's pretty much of a blind fairway, so when you hit it out to the right, you're not quite sure where it's going to end up.
Well, there's a little gap. You can see it there. That's all you see is just a little gap from the tee. Now, back at 8, Bob Charles, the 1963 British Open champion. Won in a 36-hole playoff with Phil Rogers. As crowds gather at 18, Montgomery makes his way there. Interesting round by Tom Lehman this morning. The 96 champion at Lytham was out in 40, birdied 14 and 15, got himself in good shape, but bogeyed 16, double bogeyed 18 to finish with a round of 76. These are the players that have played here at previous Open Championships, and quite an illustrious group. Only 3 played in the 68 championship. Gary Player, Sam Torrance would have been included among those who played here in 1975, but he withdrew this morning. Seve Ballesteros. Ian, pretty young guy back in 75, wasn't he?
He would have been about 23, 24 or something like that.
Okay, let's go to 18.
Monty had a layup with the Barry Byrne lying in front of the green. Third shot. About 80 yards. He's made 4 birdies today, which is not something you can say about many of the players. And Colin Montgomery, he said the other day you can only play yourself out on day one, which is an obvious, cliche around a major, but he knew the importance of this day. He's played himself out of the last few British Opens on day one, right in contention now.
He's about at the right age. It's about his time. If it isn't, Tom's going to be running out in a hurry. He's 36 years old, playing in his backyard. All the people are rooting for him. And he's playing some of the best golf of his life.
Welcomed by the warm applause. Montgomery shot 64 last Saturday to win at Loch Lomond. They ended on Saturday, so people could qualify for the British Open by playing the Sunday and Monday qualifying. Monty birdied 9 of 12 holes in the stretch in the middle of his round on Sunday at Loch Lomond to shoot that 64 and edge Sergio Garcia. Back to 11.
Tiger now for birdie.
We were talking just a moment ago on some of the past champions that have played here in the past. Seve Ballesteros, this was his first Open Championship, and he was 18 years old. I think he thought he should have won at 18.
Of course, Tiger got an early start here. Curtis, he played twice as an amateur. Had a great round of 66 at Lytham, which really, I think, proved to himself that he could play links type of golf, even though Lytham is not a true links course in the real sense of the term.
Steve, I bet you this man can play just about anywhere in the world and win.
Well, he said early in his career when he won, he did so when he sort of timed his swing perfectly. Now he doesn't have to worry about timing his swing. His swing's in much better order, and he feels a lot more confidence in it. Greens aren't fast, just a lot of gentle and subtle undulations.
Yes, Steve, actually they're pretty flat. They're big and flat, and the surrounding areas around the greens are very, very generous. A lot of fairway grass. For links courses could be, termed as quite easy.
Can you imagine what Carnoustie would be like with a tough set of greens?
Glad I'm up here.
No kidding.
Well, another interesting sports story in Europe has been the Tour de France, and on ESPN 2 tonight at 8:30, follow the continued progress of Lance Armstrong, who's wearing the yellow jersey, leading. He's won a couple of the stages. The Great American, the U.S. Postal Service team trying to guide Lance through the mountains. 8:30 Eastern tonight on The Deuce. The Tour de France continues, coverage throughout the Tour on ESPN and ABC. 14.
Well, it's an important second shot for Davis Love. this looks great. Terrific play by Davis. And what a time to play a shot like this, coming off double bogey at 12 and 13. 218.
Monty to save par. He had done it so often in this round, but he'll drop a shot and play the back in even par 35. 211.
For par? Just be patient. Just make a lot of pars. If you haven't hit it close, you try to get lucky and make birdie. But today is about making pars, and there have been very few of them, even fewer birdies. Derek Cooper under par, but not for long.
Can anybody see where Davis is?
So as the wind continues to pick up and our coverage continues of the British Open, just 20 minutes after 5 here now in Scotland. The man who was the runner-up last year lost in the playoff with Mark O'Mara, Brian Watts, with this putt for par. It's been a pretty good day for Brian.
When you get a minute, I'll talk with you.
Okay.
Well, it was long of the green in 2, but a nice finish for Watts as he makes par.
He really hung in there well last year. Had everybody in the world gunning at him. Played 2 good solid last rounds and just happened to lose in the playoff.
Like Monty, he shot 74. David Frost, also in that group, shot 80 at the par 4 12th. Second for Bob Tway.
This is Bob's 11th time over here at the British Open. Loves coming over here. He and his brother come every year, stay together.
Bob at 2 over par. Birdied the opening hole. He got off to a good start. Back at 6. Derek Cooper in some trouble. It's his 4th shot at the par 5, but a nice recovery by Cooper. A chance to stay in red figures. Ahead to 14.
Fallow for eagle. Now the problem here is it's downwind, slightly downhill. The wind will actually make it a problem judging the speed. And off it goes. Being pushed along by this breeze, which gusts anywhere between 15 and 20 miles an hour.
Steve, that's the reason, one of the reasons they don't have the greens a whole lot faster. Can you imagine what that putt would have been behind, downhill, downwind?
No, it is, as you said earlier, it's the greenest it's ever been. And that's one of the reasons, and we need to be fair, is they brought the Open back here because they've gotten it back in great shape. To 12.
Number 12 used to be a par 5. It's now a really tough par 4.
And Tiger Woods on the tee. He's got an iron out, it looks like. Again, the bunker down there on the right, the first one, is 266 yards off the tee. There's a scoreboard about 300 and some odd yards off the tee, which is a good aiming point.
Looked like he was trying to hit it so low. Looked like the ball was on his right foot with a long iron. Fell forward when he went through the ball.
Couldn't see where that one finished, Curtis, once it got over the gorse.
It's in the fairway.
Tiger, a couple of bogeys, a 2 over par, stringing together some difficult, hard-working pars. No work coming easy on this Open.
Back with the 97 Open champion, Justin Leonard. This putt for a par to remain at 2 over par. And gee whiz, isn't 3 a good score on this hole today? Not too many of them. Hole averaging 3.6. Back to 14.
Davis ran his putt for eagle well past. This for birdie. Oh, man. When he needed it most, he could pull it off. And before Davis, this was Faldo for a birdie. This would be his only birdie of the day thus far.
And you know, Steve, it's so frustrating when you don't birdie, that's probably the only opportunity you're going to have all day long.
Yeah, he played 2 great shots and then 3-putt from 20 feet. That's a shame for Davis coming off the double bogey and the bogey to 15.
Lee Westwood's third with the putter.
Come up the slope, let it feed down to the hole. I was talking to the players yesterday. The fairways are in such good shape. Look how nicely that does roll. They're almost as fast. Obviously they're not, but they're almost as fast as the greens. It's hard to believe it didn't play enough break.
Westwood is 2 under on this back 9. He's 1 over for the championship. You see he opened with bogeys at 4, 7, and 8. 3 over on the front. Par on the way back in is 35, and there's the birdie at 10, which has been difficult to come by, and coming off the birdie at 14. Back at 12, Bob Tway to stay at +2. So Bob will drop another shot. 3 over is right now tied for 33rd. There are so many people in the top 15 that are going to slide back when they start playing a few holes. Des Smith, who's 3 over. 3 bogeys in a row, stopped there with a par at 12. Jared Mosley, Aussie, is the 3rd one in this group. He shot 42 in the opening 9, 3 bogeys since. He's 9 over. Green clear for Tiger.
And Tiger is seeking to hit his 6th green today. This will be his long iron from, he's got 233 yards to the front, Curtis, after laying back there with an iron off the tee.
Looked like he mishit the iron off the tee. Should have been a little farther closer to the green, but again, this green is very wide. The entranceway is very wide. He'll be able to run it, and he has to run it because the last 5 or 6 steps is downhill to the surface. This entire green sits down a little bowl. It's one of the few full finishes we've seen from Tiger.
4 bunkers short. Guard this hole with the relatively narrow green of 23 paces in depth. So Woods is near that bunker complex on the right. Back by the 18th, Jimmy Roberts with Monty.
Well, Mike Tirico, thanks very much. And a stellar day for Colin Montgomery. I can't imagine that you would have thought in any tournament that you could shoot 3 over par and come away thinking that it was quite a good round, but I would imagine you do feel pretty good about today.
Yeah, I think so. I think avoiding disaster, really. You know, we all know that we can't win it the first day, and all we can do is throw it away. And I think anything sort of 80 and above, you know, 81, 82 and above is sort of throwing it away. So I'm quite happy to get in there at 74 and have a decent time in the morning. 7:45 must be a decent time.
So much discussion coming in here about how this course was so difficult and the conditions, the setup and everything. Is this pretty much what you were expecting, or did it exceed the expectations for difficulty?
Yeah, I'd heard on the way over to Pinehurst how difficult it was, but you cannot imagine actually coming here and trying to play it. What the R&A didn't want, and we didn't want, and everyone didn't want, was this severe wind. A breeze. Yes, this is a breeze is a normal day, but this is slightly more than normal, and when you're trying to guess at hitting 7 irons, 250 yards, you are guessing, and it brings Lady Luck into it in a hell of a big way, and I was fortunate sometimes and not others, and you go where you're given and you walk off with 74, and as I say, I'm not usually very happy with 74s, but right now I'm quite delighted.
Tom Lehman said for 30 days he thought Pinehurst was the hardest course in the world, and then he came here. How much harder is this than Pinehurst?
Well, I think the scores suggest it's a very similar field, really, I suppose. There's a few top Americans haven't come over, but it's a very similar field. Most of the top 50 are playing, and what was the average score at Pinehurst the first day? 74? This is 79. So there you go, it's 5 shots harder.
There's your answer. Well, you did have a great day today, out in 39, back in 35. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. This on the 3rd hole. for par.
Yeah, this was, I thought I'd missed it left. You see how it went left? And then, oh, okay, I'll accept them because you know you're not going to get all that luck all the time. So that was fortunate at 3. This was a good putt. It looked good all the way, actually, at 4. Okay, it was about 60 feet, but it looked very good all the way. And, yeah, 4-iron into that green, hit a 3-wood and a 4-iron, so that's playing very long.
Now, this is the 6th in the putt for par.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has problems here. I think just missed one of these things. It ran up there. I putted quite nicely today, actually, overall. It just, you have to take your medicine sometimes and get out there with a bogey.
Now, this was a tough shot on the 8th hole, almost out of bounds.
Well, it was. My tee shot was out of bounds, and that almost followed it, too. Crazy there, you know, just thinned it across the green, and that's what happens. I got an impossible position. This was my putt for bogey, in actual fact, and it was a decent effort, but it just didn't go in.
That is one tough hole. Then we move on to the 10th hole.
Yeah, this was good. Hit a 3-wood just left off the tee and a good wedge in. It was about 180, and this is a good putt. This went right in, so that was good to get that back. I felt a little bit back at 8.
And then on the 14th hole, really the only true birdie opportunity.
It is, yeah. I mean, this was a 7-iron here. We had 230 yards to go to the pin, and 7-iron, and it actually went. Obviously, we can't see this bounce. I thought it was a bit straighter than it was. Yes, there it is. It kicks in from left to right there across, and I thought, as the crowd hopefully did as well, that it would stop before this bank, but it just clears it as well and goes over the top. But there's no stopping these shots downwind at all.
Yeah, some of the yardages that we're hearing for clubs is unbelievable, and this is the birdie putt.
Yeah, this I've.
Excuse me, eagle putt.
Yeah, I yet know how this missed. This was coming in the whole way and sort of straightened up there, and just missed. But I'll take my birdie and run, I can assure you.
Absolutely. And this on the 15th hole, this is the birdie putt.
Yeah, this was good. I hit a good 8-iron here to about 15 feet, as you see, and it just ran in on the right-hand side, just held on, and it got me to 1 over, which I was delighted for, after being 3 over after 8.
And this is the home hole.
Hit a good putt here. Just, I think the wind had something to do with that. It blew it to the right at the end and just missed. But overall, I mean, you can't think of 18 as the last hole. You can think of it as a hole of golf out of 72 of them, and I'm, you know, delighted that only took 74 shots, because that could have been, and possibly should have been, a lot worse. I didn't play that well today, I felt, but it is very, very difficult out there, and I'm not the only one that said that. You just hear, you know, defending champion shot 83 today, and Garcia, who we all think will be an Open champion in the future, you know, can score 89. It's a devil out there, I can assure you.
Colin, you have had so much success. A 64 last week to win for the 20th time on the European Tour, on and on and on, 6 orders of merit. Is there something about this tournament that stands in your way mentally, or why haven't you had more success in this championship?
Yeah, I mean, the other 3 majors I've done okay in, especially the USPGA and the US Open. It's just this one tends to come after a bit of a stretch in Europe. I play the Irish Open and then the Scottish Open, and I believe that I've sometimes left my good golf there, and I'm so glad to come here playing reasonably well for the first time in a number of years, and might find myself around about the top 20 tonight, which is a big improvement that I've done in the past here. So as I say, I've got a good start time tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to the day's play tomorrow. If it's a little bit calmer, I can make inroads into that level par, but I'm one of a number of people that feel that 473s could do this, and +8 could well win this tournament, and so I'm at +3. I'm well in there right now.
Colin Montgomery, thanks for stopping by. First round 74. I know you're very happy with that. Mike Tirico, back out to you.
Thanks, Jimmy. Last year, his 3 over par was 8 off Tiger's lead. Second for Tiger at 12. Third shot from around the bunker area.
It's a great shot there, Mike. Out of the heavy grass, downwind. Have no way to control it. Once it hits the green, as you just heard Colin Montgomery talk about, it's a lot of luck in this game today.
Well, 93 players have just finished with the most recent group, and 1 of every 3 has been 80 or above, including the 190 today.
We all recall the historic British Open duel of 1977 when Watson nipped Nicklaus at Turnberry. But there have been other memorable head-to-head meetings. Here at Carnoustie in 1968, it was Nicklaus against Gary Player in round 4. Player, on the wings of an eagle 3 on the 14th hole, where he hit a blind shot with a wood to within a few feet of the hole, beat out both Nicklaus and Bob Charles by 2 shots.
Tiger to save par 12. Well, his par saves at the Memorial were the big difference in the final round there.
And we talk so much about how aggressively he does putt the 5- and 6-footers. Here, with the speed a little bit slower on the greens, it could help him.
Well, next week, to the west of here, Northern Ireland, the Senior British Open, the MasterCard Senior British Open, at Royal Portrush, 1951. The British Open was held there. Now it's the home for the MasterCard Senior British Open. There are your times to start next week on ESPN. Here's Ian at 16.
Greg Norman on the tee of the long par 3. 4 over for the day. It's not often you can say that's not a bad round of golf. Started over that front left-hand bunker. Landed just on the very front of the green, if possible. I saw Joe Ozaki on this hole this morning. He was 50 paces past the flag with a 5-iron. That's a 306-yard 5-iron. Pretty unbelievable. Greg's missed it to the right. And he'll have to come over a bit of a ridge up onto the side of the green there on the right. It's a difficult pitch from there.
Almost an impossible hole, Ian. It's like a 3.5 par.
It is, Curtis, definitely. Back to the 7. Derek Cooper here, long range. Really grinding out some sort of score today. He's used to these conditions. He's been playing the European Tour for 17 or 18 seasons now. That's the 11th green we have in shot. Miguel Martin.
And this is up at 18, Hal Sutton. Hal, very good day. Try to end it. There you go. Putted the last for par. Nice save for Hal, and he shoots 73. 37 on the front, 36 on the back. And we go to the 13th.
Tiger on the tee, just selecting his club.
Well, right now, Ian, the wind's blowing quite hard behind him and from the left. It's fortunate that the whole location today is way in the back. If you had a front pin today, just trying to land the ball and stop it over that bunker would be impossible.
I think the difficulty here, though, Gary, is that the flag is placed way up in there behind that left-hand bunker, and it really is inaccessible. You certainly can't land it over the bunker like you normally would and spin it up close.
Well, he's got to be just looking at the middle of the green, I think. This is a wedge.
I agree. Somewhere over that front right-hand bunker, middle of the green, leave himself 15 feet or so to the right of the hole.
So difficult to stop the ball. That was a perfect shot. Barely stayed on the green.
You know something too, Gary? The crowds know that. You know, he's hit it in there to 25 feet, but they know that was a hell of a shot. Back at 7, we saw Derek Cooper coming from the front of the green. This for his par. Just to remain 1 under. And no one is now under par. No red figures out there on any of those yellow leaderboards.
So Cooper 1 of 4 at even par. The man who posted even par early was Rodney Pampling. Made 11 pars to open. He won in February. Said that this, his first open, his goal was to finish in the top 10. I think he realized how good his even par 71 would look as the day went on.
Took advantage of his early tee time, something Colin Montgomery wants to do.
For tomorrow. Tiger also plays early tomorrow. More Tiger and more golf after this. Patrick Scholand, whose day got off to a great start, makes a birdie at the last to finish at +3. the only player to see 3 under par on this opening day. It's where he was through 4. Gave those strokes back in the middle of the round, but a birdie at the last has him at +3. Back to 16.
Now just have a look at this. Lee Westwood roaming over there to the long left of the 16th green. That's a great view. 256 yards this hole today.
Ian, they've set up this green a little differently as well. The rough to the right of the green, mostly fairway to the left where Westwood is right now.
And almost like the greens at Pinehurst here, Curtis, aren't the front 17th tee?
Guess what? That's why they did it.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine playing Pinehurst greens all day on this golf course. He's got the flat stick. I think it's a good option. Going up the hill. Wonderful touch. Curtis pointed it out earlier, how good the fairways and fringes of these greens are. There's hardly any transition between them and the greens. Let's take a look at this. This is the club selection of all of the players. 3-iron, 4-iron, 5-iron, a couple of big hitters, probably Carlos Franco and someone else like that with a 6-iron. 256 yards. I mentioned earlier, Joe Ozaki was 50 yards through the green with a 5-iron. Amazing. Lee Jansen also in this group, putting for a par from pretty long range, about 30 feet or so. Lee currently 6 over par, 40 the front 9. Bogeys at 12 and 15. And Greg Norman also in this group at 4 over par for the championship with some work left to do. Take a quick look at Tiger Woods' putt here. This is for a birdie 2 at the short par 3, 13th. This is the second easiest hole on the course today. Still hasn't made a birdie, but he does have the short par 5, 14 coming up next, which I'm sure he'll be able to pick one up.
Oh, Ian, Tiger's at +2, so is Justin Leonard, Steve Pate, Dudley Hart, and Hal Sutton are in at 2 over par. Rodney Pampling's even par 71, standing the test of the wind, and the best players in the world, Dunlop and Longer, in at +1. Kenny Mayne and Linda Cohen have a Sports Center update, including a look ahead to the second half of the baseball season starting, the return of Astros manager Larry Dierker, and at the top of the hour, we'll come back with another hour of coverage of the 100.
Any major championship is serious business, but a Carnoustie game face has a bit of a snarl on it. If there were smiles on the course, they were more of the wry, I got away with one variety. Carnoustie literally brought the best players in the world to their knees. The saying goes, you can't win a tournament in round 1, but you can lose it. Many lost the British Open on Thursday.
Our tail.
Told us it was going to be hard. They weren't kidding. Brian Hammonds and Jennifer Mills with you on Golf Central to bring you the first round carnage. It would be hard to call them highlights.
By day's end on Thursday, players were talking about how they needed a vacation, and that was after the first round played in conditions that were relatively mild by British Open standards. The first round scoring average this year at the U.S. Open at Pinehurst, 3 strokes over par. At Carnoustie today, it was more than 2.5 times that. It is rare in this game that you see a touring professional elated about shooting a 74, but with Carnoustie's tight fairways and deep rough, that was the case in round one, where Carnoustie earned its nickname, Carnasty. The #1 player in the world, Tiger Woods, arriving by helicopter, staying 20 miles south of St. Andrews. How about the #2 player in the world, Duval, par 4 third, his second from the heavy gorse. That was trouble. He made bogey. Duval, 1 over par. Then on the par 4 fourth, his second, more problems. From the thick stuff, gets it back into play. Duval, though, would make another bogey. Then at the 11th, par 4, his third from the bunker. He's 3 over at this point. Emotions we don't usually see from Duval. He makes another bogey. Duval shot an opening 79. It was worse for this man, 19-year-old Sergio Garcia. First hole, he would triple the first. He shot 89. Good day for the Big Easy. Ernie Els, par 4 first for birdie. Els shoots 74. He's 3 over par. Montgomery, coming off a win at the Loch Lomond, par 4 third, thought he'd missed it. As Brian just mentioned, got away with it. For par. Good for Monty. Monty, par 4 fourth. He's missed the cut in 5 of his last 7 British Opens. This one's for birdie. Gives the tip of the cap to the home crowd. Great birdie putt by Monty. In a bit of a bother on the par 3 8th. His second, catches it thin. That was trouble. That led to double. He falls to +3, but Monty would bounce back. Par 4 10 for birdie. Montgomery gets it back to +2. He would eventually shoot 74, so he's at +3. Meanwhile, what about the Yanks? Woods, par 4 10th, his third shot from off the green with a putter. Talk about imagination. You have to have it playing the British Open. That's a great shot. Good touch, saves par. He is 2 over. Now Woods on the par 4 12th, his third. Woods displayed his tremendous short game today. This would nestle up close. He saves par. He stays at 2 over. Then we go to Woods at the par 4 17th. Now he bogeyed 16, had this for par on 17. Doesn't go. He shoots 74. More on Tiger's front 9 a little later. Meanwhile, another American, Davis Love III, par 4 7th for birdie. He's even par at the time. Now he's at -1. Has the lead temporarily. Love, par 4 12th, his second, -1, still a co-leader. Big problems. Barely moves, can barely find it. Love makes double. He shot 74. Defending champion Mark O'Meara, par 4 18th, his third. This was a rare highlight for O'Meara today. That one is in, holds out for birdie and an 83 on Thursday. But the man they're chasing, Australian Rodney Pampling, par 5 14th for eagle, and he gets it. This is the only hole that played under par in round 1. Pampling then on 18, the short one for par. He shoots even on the day, and Rodney Pampling leads the way in the 128th Open Championship. Thursday marks the first time since the British Open at Turnberry in 1986 that no one broke par in a major championship round. Pampling skipped the practice range after the round, went straight to get a haircut, something about, quote, less wind resistance. He leads Leonard and 5 others by 2. Colin Montgomery said this is the happiest he has ever been after the first round at this major. Els says he'd take 4 74s and sit in the clubhouse right now. Harnevik birdied the second, made 7 5 over in a 4-hole stretch. Still, he shot 74. And Tiger Woods, as you saw, scrambled. He shoots 74 as well. Clark, Norman, Westwood, and Lehman all 5 over. With his bad wrist, Olafable shot 78, as did Nick Faldo. David Duval did not mince words about what he thought about the setup, more about by a defending champion in 123 years. He said afterwards he was embarrassed. Just how difficult was Carnoustie in round 1? No one posted a number in the 60s. 155 of the 156 in the field were over par. 54 of those were in the 80s, 2 in the 90s.
At the U.S. Open, players were complaining about how the hole location the rough, the paths posing as fairways, and the ever-present winds in Scotland. In fact, Michael Benalik, the secretary of the R&A, said In hindsight, we may have overstepped, but now it's too late. For more on round one, let's join Rich Lerner in Carnoustie.
Well, the prevailing sentiment from the players here is that Carnoustie, very simply, is the hardest golf course they have ever seen. You know, when the best players in the world are happy with 76, that we're talking about brutal conditions. One player said this wasn't golf, it was survival, and some players managed to hang on a little bit better than others.
You just got to hit fairways and then worry about your second shot, and at least if you happen to hit away with second shot, you're going to be somewhere near the green and you've got a chance to get it up and down. But that was our game plan, was just go out, hit as many fairways as we possibly can and go from there.
I'm fairly happy, yes. I had a good scoring day, putted quite well, and made a couple mistakes here or there.
Well, you get right back to that old cliche about one stroke at a time, but probably more important than that is just not get frustrated when something horrendous happens, because it will happen to everyone else.
I played well. I struck the ball beautifully today. I really didn't hit too many bad shots today. I really putted well, and it's just the conditions are so severe out there that you know, I thought even par probably about like 75 or 76.
You know, we all know that we can't win it the first day, and all we can do is throw it away. And I think anything sort of 80 and above, you know, 81, 82 and above is sort of throwing it away. So I'm quite happy to get in there at 74.
Well, it's the first time ever in my life that I've been asked to come to the press center when I've shot 74, 3 over par. But I'm satisfied with it, you know. I got off to a good start today on the birdie the first and almost made birdie on the second. But you know, it was a very, very difficult day and a very, very difficult golf course. So 74 was up to my expectations today.
It was a bit harder to get the ball in the fairway. They were bouncing sort of across the fairways today a bit, and I actually hit the ball pretty good, but couldn't manage a score really.
Winds gusting up to 35 miles per hour, and yet 75 champion Tom Watson said we may have had the easy winds, that if it changes directions, it could get really hard. That's a scary proposition. Still, I didn't find anybody who thought this was easy.
The wind is going to, you know, the wind's going to blow here. There's nothing stopping it. I mean, if you caught this place on a calm day, even par would be a great score.
Somebody got to speak to the man upstairs and turn off the fans, you know.
Well, I think a 3-iron off the 15th that went about 200 and 260.
Hit a 250-yard 8-iron on 14, par 5.
It's extremely difficult to judge distances downwind. I hit a wedge there on number 15, and I think it went 185 yards.
Yeah, you get to experience it once and hopefully only once. No, but all in all, it's not enjoyable at all.
You know, I think if you surveyed the players, that everybody would probably say that taking it over the limit here a little bit.
You know, in 5 years, somebody will say, man, this is the hardest course, you know, I've ever seen. And we'll all say, well, you should have seen Carnoustie in 99. It was unbelievable.
Among the casualties today, Sergio Garcia, who spoke only to the Spanish media afterwards, saying he'll forget quickly about this disastrous day. We did, however, catch up with one of his playing partners, Rocco Mediate.
He just kept grinding. He never really complained, never whined or anything, just kept going forward. What you have to do, or else this thing will eat you.
Rocco says we could see a cut as high as 15, 16 over par, and those pre-tournament predictions of a winning score of around 300 look rather plausible right now. The forecast is for more of the same, high winds, so it does not figure to get any easier. Colin Montgomery may have summed it up best when he said, par doesn't mean a damn thing this week. The object is to finish one stroke better than the rest of the field. A bit later in the show, Justin Rose 1 year later. For now, I'm Rich Lerner reporting from Carnoustie for Golf Central.
Thursday's scoring average of 78.31 is by far the highest first-round scoring average in the 90s at the British Open, bettering last year's mark by over 4 shots. In some other news from Carnoustie, Tiger Woods got quite a reception at the 18th green.